What's good, y'all? My name is Dylan Green, and this is Real Notes, a space dedicated to blurring the cultural and artistic lines between rap and film. I'm here to chop it up with everyone from rappers and producers to journalists and video directors about their relationship to movies and how, if at all, film inspires their craft. My guests this week are Texas-based rapper, producer, engineer Curbside Jones and Maryland-based rapper, producer, engineer Dexter Fizz. We talked about Space Jam, Parasite, fashion-forward rappers, the brilliance of A24 films, the dubbed versus subbed anime debate, how their mutual fascination with and respected trips to Japan influenced their music, and the creative process behind their latest project, The Last Train. Come fuck with us. What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back. This is, I think we're on number 13 now. Yeah, this is definitely number 13. Number 13 of Real Notes. That's the name of the show. I'm sorry, y'all. My name is Dylan Green, CineMasai. I got a bunch of names. Those are just two of them. Every guest on the show is incredibly special, but I got two really awesome people in the room with me today. Both these dudes rap, they both produce, they both engineer. And over the years, they've really just like carved out their own little niches within rap that have been really, really, really cool to see. So we got Texas's own Curbside Jones and Maryland's own Dexter Fizz in the place to be.
Yes,
like,
sir.
yo, thank y'all so much for coming on my shit, man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate it. You're one of the few ones that followed through on what they said about, helping us out with The Last Train. So I appreciate it.
Nah, man, this has been a long time coming for Curb, like you and I specifically. Like I've been following you for a few years, and like Dex, getting to know your music over the course of the last like couple of days has been like, I could like anyone that he co-signs is like I'm there. So like
appreciate that. Yeah.
Nah, and yeah, like Curb, you were also one of like the really early supporters of this podcast as an idea. So it was just like it had to happen. So like. It's
when you told me about the idea, I was like, yo, that's dope. Like I really enjoy film and I really enjoy music. So it makes sense, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and they're just so like there's just so much to go for. They're like, yeah, like even just like rap specifically, but everything really. But like, yeah, like that's it was just a done deal. So I'm gonna ask y'all the first question I ask everybody who comes on this show. For the both of y'all, like what's the first movie experience you can remember having? Like that could be at the theater, it could be like at your cousin's house, it could be at home, wherever. Like first movie experience.
I actually took notes because I knew this question was coming. Being an ex-journalist, you got to do your research. So I already knew this question was coming. So I'm gonna let Dex go first because I got notes because I have quite a few.
So I listened to your Flying Low interview and I realized that you asked him that question too. So I was like, yeah, he's gonna test me. So let me come correct. The first movie I remember ever seeing in theaters, I was like 6 or 7, was Space Jam. And it was crazy because it was like me, my one homie, my mom, and my friend's mom. And I remember I was so pressed on like the Tasmanian Devil that I had to get like the Tasmanian Devil with the jersey. They were selling it at like the concession stand and shit.
Hey,
and it was like a whole experience, It was a whole experience. I remember it. Michael Jordan was like my favorite basketball player too at the time. And then like he kind of retired and everything. And then it switched to AI. But yeah, man, just seeing MJ on the screen was just crazy with the animation and everything. It was an amazing event.
Shaq was my favorite player at that time. But I did have Space Jam comforter with the sheets. And then I had like a Space Jam, like a basketball goal that was like mounted on my wall so I could like play in my room and stuff. Yeah, so Space Jam, that's where it's at, man.
Yeah, that was my first time ever. Yeah. That I remember.
That's fire because I literally have a Toon Squad jersey in my closet right now that like I'm like finna put on this summer. It's gonna go crazy. Like
with the LeBron joint coming out too.
Yeah, son. Like it's really a special time for us. Like we're all like between like 25 and 30, like on the cusp of that next stage of life. So like we're really about to just get all our feelings, whether we watch it in the theater or at home. It's gonna be nuts.
Yeah,
um
that's facts.
because I can't remember, did had Jordan already retired from basketball when Space Jam came out, or did that happen after? Because
I
I always,
I
yeah,
I think he was doing a baseball thing, or he was trying to step into the
Yeah.
baseball thing. That's why in the movie they had him play for
Hmm.
the
right,
White Sox.
okay,
Yeah.
right, yeah. I could just never remember if that happened like before, and that was like a joke that turned into reality, or if it was like based in fact. Okay, okay, okay,
Oh,
okay.
that's facts. Yeah. If you
Yeah.
haven't seen The Last Dance, you seen that yet?
No, I still haven't,
Bro,
son.
watch that.
I've been
Watch that.
slipping.
You watch that ASAP. It's great. It's great. He talks about like how he traveled with the cocaine circus and everybody and like going against like yeah, you just gotta watch it. Just watch it. It's good.
Yo. My favorite thing I've seen from that so far is just him on the bus jamming out to, what was he jamming out to on the bus with the headphones? Like,
Ooh. I forget. It was some like it was some R&B singer's demo that they sent him because he was like, I didn't listen to rap back then. He only listened to like
right.
R&B. I think it may have been Michael Jackson something. It may have been Michael
Mm,
Jackson. But yeah,
cause cause like
yeah.
honestly, I feel like Jordan still doesn't like rappers. I'm gonna say
Probably
that.
not. No,
No.
Yeah.
no,
No.
nah.
Nah.
Yeah, that's a safe assumption.
Yeah.
You good there?
But nah, yeah, totally. Like Space Jam was definitely a defining moment for me too. So like
Mm.
I feel you. Like I don't know, it wasn't my first experience, but it was like one of the earliest. And it
Mm,
was a movie that I
Mm.
remember just like falling completely in love with. Like up until very recently, it was like my personal favorite movie ever. I would still say it's one of them, but
hmm
like that you grow, you live and
Yeah,
learn. But like there's
that's
just some like there's just I'm sorry to cut you off. My fault. Um, there's just like there's just something about like watching Elmer Fudd argue with fucking Jordan about anything. I don't know. It just makes me
It's
laugh
just
still.
outlandish. It's outlandish. Like when you think about it in retrospect, it's just so outlandish that it works because it works within the realm of like, because Looney Tunes and stuff was very outlandish as well. So as a kid, it wasn't hard to grasp the idea of being like, oh, Bugs Bunny's playing a basketball game with Michael Jordan against space aliens that drunk the magic the water, and now they're like, you know what I mean? So like
yeah.
as a kid, it was just so much going on that it was just like, oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. But I think like had that film came out like now, I don't know if it would have hit the same because of how outlandish a lot of the cartoons and things are now. It's just so outlandish, like, and they do the whole cross between, the computer animated and then the live action and stuff like that. So I don't know if it would
Right.
hit exactly the same.
Right.
But for us, like there was nothing like that, like, at that time, especially on that level that you could like go to theaters and see and stuff like that.
Yeah, because we were like, because like Who Framed Roger Rabbit was in like the late '80s. Like we weren't alive for that, or at least I wasn't alive
I
for that.
wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
That movie was dope though. Like I remember I went
Yeah.
back and watched it. I didn't know anything about it until I was like 12 years old or 13 years old. And I was like, this is crazy. This looks so
Yeah.
crazy.
Mm.
And this chick was just ridiculous looking. I'm like, what is going on? This is how people really just like portray women in animation and stuff. And I didn't know until like I saw anime for real. But yeah, it was wild.
You're talking about Jessica Rabbit, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah,
talking
Hmm.
about.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. That was. Yeah, man. The 20th century was a wild time for women in animation. Let's just put it that way.
facts. And the anime
God,
too got
yeah,
crazy.
for real. Curb, what about you? Since you got your
Man,
notes and shit.
I have my notes. I have my notes here. So I can't remember what the earliest was. Like I'm pretty sure it was, I don't know, a Disney movie or something, whatever the 90s kids were watching at that time. I wrote down a list of the most impactful though. So these are the most
Ooh.
impactful ones that I either seen. So I broke it down by time, like kind of like time period, as well as like the format in which I've seen the movie. So for theaters, the biggest one for me, and I know a lot of people are going to be like, what, whatever, but the biggest one for me as a kid was Pokemon, the first movie.
Ooh.
Um, and that one is a big one for me because at that time, because I think around the time the movie came out, I was in elementary school. I want to say I was in third. third or fourth grade. I can't remember. And I remember my mom took me to see it. And the line for the movie was like wrapped all the way around the building. And we waited in line. I got my Ancient Mew card. I brought,
Yep.
yeah, I brought a 2 card sleeves. I brought one to put it in like the regular plastic sleeve, and then I brought one of the hard sleeves, and I put it in the hard sleeve, gave it to my mom, was like, yo, put this in your purse. And we sat through the movie. She didn't know what was going on. But she, heard me blabber about Pokemon all the time. So she just, sat there for it. And I thought that was really great. The next one I have that I saw in theaters that was super impactful, which wasn't a good movie, but Godzilla 2000.
Ooh, yep.
I remember,
the soundtrack.
but
the soundtrack.
The thing about Godzilla 2000 that made it really good was the promo leading up to the movie, because back then that was like when McDonald's and all them would do their like little cross promos, and they would have like, oh, come to McDonald's and you get like say if you order a certain amount or a certain meal, you get like a promo item from the movie, like a cup or whatever. So I was really into that. So I was collecting the cups and stuff like that. So that's why that one was impactful, because there was actually something physical to go along with it, the action figures and stuff like that. The next ones that I had for theaters that really stood out for me, like memories that I will always have, is when my mom took me to see the South Park first movie.
Wow.
So my mom, I don't know, my mom was one of those moms, like she wasn't like super overprotective about like what I watched or what I listened to or anything like that. So she took me to go see it because we used to watch South Park, at home. So we would watch it at home, and went to go see the movie. All the adult jokes kind of just went over my head. So I'm sitting there watching them tell Kyle to go find the clitoris, and I had no clue what that meant. So I'm sitting there like, what even is this? Okay. So then as I got older, I was like, yo, I shouldn't have went to go see that. This was wild. There's a lot going on here. And then on the flip side of that, my mom took me to go see Freddie Got Fingered.
Wow. Your mom didn't give a fuck.
Nah, yo, she was like, oh, all this shit.
One. Because she knew that I like Tom Green. So she was like, yo, that crazy white guy that you watch on TV has a movie. Do you want to go see it? And I was like, yeah, sure. So went to go see that. I think I turned out pretty okay. Another one within that realm was Batman Forever. All the other Batman movies were good, but the Batman Forever one, kind of just like with Godzilla, they had the promo at McDonald's. You get whatever. I remember I had a glass mug with like the bat symbol on it and everything. Mortal Kombat, the both of them actually. I saw both of those in theaters, and the Mortal Kombat movie just, during that time, that was what, like before I knew about like fighting games like real crazy, like how I do now. Right. Like Mortal Kombat was something that was in the house, so I kind of knew what that was. Then the segue into not actually going to the theaters, but like just movies in general. Like when DVDs first came out, it was like the big thing, and everybody was like, yo, so my dad had to go flex and buy a DVD player. And
mine did too.
The first 2 movies that he bought were The Matrix and Saving Private Ryan. And my dad, ex-military. So for anybody that's listening that has parents that used to be in the military or still in the military, they love them some Army movies. I'm like, bro, you're watching a movie about your job. Like that doesn't make any sense. But watching Saving Private Ryan was, at that age, I want to say I was like maybe 9 or 10, maybe around there. So watching that movie was crazy. I was like, yo, this is so realistic. Like even now looking back on it, it's still one of the most realistic like depictions that I've seen of like a war movie.
Mm-hmm. That's a rough movie for sure. Yeah,
it's like the scene where they pull up on the shore and they're like trying to hop out, but they're getting like shot up as it. Yep. And I'm like, bro, like I'm watching it as a kid, like, yo, is this what it's really like? Like this is crazy. And then just other movies, honorable mentions, The One, Jet Li. I watched
Wow.
I watched
movie.
that.
Underrated.
I
That's a good
watched
movie.
that DVD so many times. Like I watched the movie so many times. Enter the Dragon, Bruce Lee, of course. Jackie
Classic.
Chan, Jackie Chan's Who Am I? I watched that movie so many times. Homie got amnesia, had to figure out who he was.
Haven't seen that
And
one. That
then
sounds
I haven't
cool
seen
though.
that one either. Yeah.
it's a good one. The final fight scene, he fights against this dude that's like this Taekwondo guy, but you don't know it yet. So they're on this rooftop and they're getting ready to fight. You know, Jackie Chan, I don't want no problems. I don't want no problems. Um, and homie's like, nah, you came for the smoke. I'm about to give it to you. So he has
Right.
on this blazer, and he takes the blazer off and he throws it in the air, and then proceeds to lift his leg straight into the air. So he's at like
Straight up
straight
vertical.
up in the
Yeah.
air, and catches the blazer on his foot,
Oof.
and then brings it in front of him and then drops it on the ground. And then that's how the fight scene starts. And I was like, I gotta go be in Taekwondo. So I was in Taekwondo after that.
That man's a legend, honestly. Like he does all his own. He does
Oh,
all
yeah.
his own stunts. He throws
Yep.
himself off the
Yes.
buildings. Like shout out to Jackie
there's-
Chan, man. Like,
there's a scene in that building. I don't know where in the movie where I think it's in Hong Kong. I don't know what building it is, but it's one of those buildings that's kind of like at a slant, kind of like a pyramid, kind of like. And he goes down the side of the building, like 100-story building, like going down the side
That's
of the building.
crazy.
And I'm like, bro,
Yeah.
like
I mean, even
This-
some of the shit he pulled in Rush Hour like 1 and 2 was nuts.
yeah.
You're crazy for that.
Nah, that shit was OD. All of it. Like
Yes.
even
He's a legend.
yeah, he really is. I can't remember like there's one of his movies that's on the Criterion collection that I keep meaning to go buy, and I always forget about it. And like whenever the sale happens, I'm like, oh, they never got nothing I want. And then I remember when it's over, like, damn, it was it's a cop movie. I forget what it's called. It'll come back to me. But nah, shout out
is
to
it
Jackie
Battle
Chan.
in the Bronx or not Battle in the
Nah,
Bronx?
It's not it's gonna come back to me later. I can't remember right now. Or maybe I'll look it up. But yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. And then the last two I had was anime. So we're dipping into that. So ones that I can remember that were like moments for me was Ninja Scroll and Ghost in the Shell. And I watched those because my dad, I don't know, I kind of like how I was listening, you were talking about your dad, how your dad's kind of like into different things or whatever. My dad is also the same. For whatever reason, he watched these movies. I'm not sure why. And he told me, he was like, yo, you can't watch that. Like, it's not kids movies. And I'm like, bro, like after watching South Park and all, I'm like, how bad can this be?
Yeah.
So we had like Showtime and all that when I was a kid, like through, I guess, Time Warner or whatever. And late at night, I had snuck in and I was watching it, and I was like, oh, Ninja Scroll, I want to watch this. So I watched the movie and I was like, yo, so is this like the other side? Like, because back then it was just like we had Toonami. So that's all I had to base any anime off of, like Toonami,
Right.
Pokemon, Digimon, and stuff like that. So watching that and then backdooring it with Ghost in the Shell, I was like, yo, this stuff is crazy.
And yeah,
like
at the
that. And that's what did it for me.
Yeah.
Like at that young age, yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah, same. Like at the time, like Toonami did not have anything like Ninja Scroll or like Ghost in the Shell. It was all like Dragon Ball was about as intense as it got.
Yeah.
And like and like especially now with like the relaunch, like they're airing fucking like Psychopaths and Dead Man Wonderland and like all
Love
like the
that
really
show.
like shout out to Dead Man Wonderland,
Yeah,
great show. Like like just like considering where Toonami started and where it's at now, and like how like that bridge that you were just talking about is like, because like for me, my first moment like that was when I first saw Akira in high school.
Same. Yep.
And I'm just watching Tetsuo grow in the sports college, and I'm just like, what the fuck am I watching? Like it was just like I'd never seen nothing like that before. So it really just or like not that specifically. So it just like it just blew me.
I actually
like,
watched that. I watched that with my dad too one time, and like we sat and we watched it, and I was like, "Yo, you gotta check this out, man! It's supposed to be like the best anime movie of all time. You gotta watch it." And he was just like, "All right," and then we sat down and we watched it. He was like, yeah, that was cool. That was cool, man. Yeah, that was
That was his reaction, yo.
cool.
When I saw that movie, my mom was blown, yo. And I was 19 years old when I saw that movie. That was the first anime experience I've ever really had outside of like Dragon Ball Z.
Wow.
My homies put me onto it because I just went out to school, and they're like, "Well, you never really watched anime? No, you gotta watch Akira." And then after I watched Akira, they put me on to like Trigun, Cowboy Bebop, and it was just like
Classics.
downhill from there. I just watched everything. But yeah, Akira is crazy, man. That's oof, yeah, it's
Yeah, that
good.
yeah, yeah, that's like foundational for so many people I know. Like that's like that story is just like yeah, like I watched Dragon Ball and Toonami, and then I saw Akira, and then my whole life changed. Like it's
Yep.
yeah,
And it's
like
all hand drawn too, which was even crazier.
yeah,
Yes, yes, yes,
So
beautiful.
yes.
much talent, and the manga is even crazier too. Like I right after I saw it, I like ordered the manga and read it. It was crazy
Yo,
because it's got so much more
yeah,
story in it.
A lot
yeah.
of
Me and my
film, a
sorry,
lot of
no,
film borrows from that movie. Like, there's so
Hmm.
many Hollywood movies
mm-hmm,
that kind of went in and took it and kind of try to put a little spin on it and stuff like
Right.
that. I mean, those who know like,
Oh
okay, this
yeah.
is where this came from. Which to me kind of kills any chance of having like a really good Hollywood budget live action for it, because
Mhm.
they have taken so much from it. And it's
Kanye
like
too, bro.
Kanye and the
yep,
stronger
Uh,
video and everything.
uh,
yep.
So it's like it's been that well has been drawn from so many times where I'm like, there are people, I remember when they were talking about there possibly being a live action and stuff, people were like, oh yes, I'm hype, I want to see the live
And
action.
Tom Cruise is gonna be in it and shit.
And I
Like
was like,
nah,
no,
hell
I was
no.
like, no, I was like,
no, that would ruin the
I
whole
don't want to
movie.
see that.
Yeah,
Don't
no
want to
chance
see
I'm
it.
watching that.
Yeah, hell no. Like it's really interesting that you brought that up about about Akira's bones being picked so clean, because that's how I felt about Ghost in the Shell when they made the
Hmm.
Scarlett Johansson movie. I was like every movie like from the like just the Matrix alone is just like Ghost in the Shell with white people
Yep. Yep.
basically, and like so like it was just weird to me to see them like really just be like, okay, yeah, we're gonna have Scarlett Johansson be in the movie, but like she's got like the soul of a little Japanese. I'm like, yo, are you fucking stop?
Uh,
Like,
for that reason, I couldn't even watch that movie, yo. Like I
yeah,
read the
like
manga for that too, and I was like, I'm not going to see the live action for this
Mm-mm.
show. Just
yeah,
like I probably wouldn't see a live action Akira movie. It would just ruin so much for me.
yeah, nah. Like
I don't know if I could
I'll
see it.
just. I'll just wait for the recaps. Honestly, I'm cool. I'm cool off that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless it's like amazing and they actually cast like based off,
No,
everybody's character, which they're not going to
no,
do. It's Hollywood,
Yeah,
bro.
come on.
It's
no.
you
Hollywood.
are you already know what it is. They wanted Jordan Peele to do it, and he said like I'm not doing that. Like he made a statement like I'm not directing this movie. Like they
Yeah.
want me to, but I won't do it. And I'm like, good for you, bro.
Yeah, good for him,
Like
yo.
Yes.
yeah.
They should get the dude who did Parasite to do that. I think that would be kind of cool.
Parasite is fire too. So yeah, no.
10 out of 10. Don't get
Bro,
me started on
bro.
that
That
movie.
movie?
Don't get me
Yeah.
started on that movie, bro.
Yeah, it
I'm
was good.
telling you.
It was good, bro. It was good. I think you tried to did you put me on to that? You told me to
I
watch it?
probably did, bro.
Yeah.
I'm telling you,
That shit was
after
fire.
after I saw that one in theaters too. So like it
Tough.
was even more because like you have the whole theater and everything like that. And then at the
Yeah.
end they had a Q&A actually for it.
Really
Yeah, they had like a Q&A and they had like people talking about the movie and everything.
nice.
Yeah, me and my wife went to go see it. She was like, "Oh, you want to go see Parasite?" And I was like, "Yeah," because I had saw like the trailers and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be like a thriller. It's gonna be whatever." We get
Right.
there, and she's like, "What is this movie about?" And she thought it was going to be about actual
Ah.
parasites, like a
Right.
horror movie. And I was like, I
yeah.
was like, I was like, no, I don't think it's a horror movie. I don't think that's what this is about. And I was like, honestly, I don't even know what it's about because the trailers didn't give anything
Yeah, it
away
didn't say
really.
much. Mhm.
So after sitting through it, feeling like I had the BGs the whole time because I was
Yeah.
stressed out. I was
Mhm.
like, bro, I am so stressed. And
Mhm.
it's like, I want to root for you guys, but like, y'all might be getting in too deep. Y'all might be scamming a little too hard. Draw back. But then it's like, well, if the money's good. Yeah, it was, oh man,
Yeah.
that movie is a
Yeah.
masterpiece, man.
It
Movie's
is.
fucking incredible, son. And like if you think about it, it really is kind of a horror movie though. Just not in like the literal like they have parasites type of way.
Yeah,
Cause it's
yeah,
just
yeah,
Right.
like you're like watching it. I learned like I didn't really know much about what was going on with the class system in Korea. And like
yeah.
this really just like it inspired me to really dig into it in a way that I hadn't even thought about before. And like Bong Joon-ho, like the director, is just he's been making masterpieces like this for years too.
Yes.
Like it's the guy who made
Mm-hmm.
Snowpiercer, and
Mm,
Snowpiercer was crazy. This might be his best movie to me.
I think
And
so
just
too.
like and like at the and like my favorite my two favorite moments in the movie are at the very end when bro comes out of the basement and his face is just bloodied and he just like looks up into the sun and his eyes just like you could just tell that like he's been underground for 2 years or however
Mm-hmm.
long it had been. And then he fucking stabs three people at the party and then he
Yep.
runs up to the dad and he's just like respect, and he goes off on the respect thing because he loves this man but he hates this. It's
Mm-hmm.
oh, like yeah, I could go
Yeah.
off on that movie all. Oh man, like I showed my girlfriend that movie and she was like, she didn't really know what to expect either, and I was like, and she was like, oh, like she's like, oh, it's a Korean movie, and I was like, yeah, like please, like sit down and watch this with me. I promise you're
Yes.
gonna love it. And at the end, she was like, holy shit, like that was a movie right there. Like it
Yeah.
was just like even with the language barrier, like we like people like we were just on the edge of our seats the whole time. Just
Oh
really
yeah.
incredible filmmaking, son. Like
That's
Bro, I
how.
remember I called Trav after that. I don't know if I'm allowed to say his government on here, but I called Trav after that, and I was like, bro, you gotta see Parasite, bro. The writing, bro. I'm telling you, you're gonna love the writing, bro. It's crazy, bro. And then he went and did that podcast about it, and I was like, yes, thank you for speaking about it. Thank you for watching it. Like, yes, 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 yes.
nah, bro. That's the movie for real. Like I got it. That's one I bought on Criterion. I got it somewhere around here. I can't find it right now. But yeah,
Nice.
shout out to Parasite. Movies fire.
Yes.
Um, so for y'all, I kind of feel like we've already like touched on this a bit, but like, was there a specific movie that made you guys fall in love with the idea of movies, or like, did you have that moment? And if so, what was it? What would you say?
Mm.
Hmm.
Well, it's funny that you say that because, like, we were just talking about language barriers and stuff being an issue watching movies. There are a couple I want to say, but like the first one where I actually saw it and it was just like a regular movie, not like anime or anything, probably City of God. That
Shout out to
shit,
that.
bro. When I saw that movie, it's just like it builds up on so much, just like characters, and then it has like the twist of just you don't know what the heck you're expecting. It's like you follow little kids, they grow up, they become these savages. Like some of them have like good morals, others are just like just out for like power and shit. And it was just a really good movie. I think that's the one that did it for me for real.
That's a good
Yeah.
one. Like, yeah, that's like it feels like people talk about it enough, but like it also doesn't. Like, I don't want to call it underrated, but like
Hmm.
I just can't sing City of God's praises enough. Like, too good.
Yeah.
Like too good.
Yeah.
I think for me, uh, hmm, I'll probably say like as far as being aware of like elements of film didn't really come into like adulthood. As far as like, you know, understanding lighting, understanding like color treatment, understand like, you know, the scoring and how everything kind of gels together. That didn't come to me until adulthood. Um, and I feel like what really made me start to pay attention to a lot of that um, was like what A24 was doing and has
Mm.
been doing, like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of their films. Um, like after sitting down and like watching like Ex Machina and stuff like that, and
It's a great movie.
yeah, like sitting down and watching that and being like, yo, this is like, there's so many things happening, but like it all goes together. Like if this movie hadn't been shot like with this type of lighting, it wouldn't have been a good, like it wouldn't have been as good.
Right.
If it wouldn't have had these cuts and these scenes here to jump and do all this, it wouldn't have been as good. If the music and the sound, hadn't came in at these parts, then it wouldn't have been the same experience. And I think watching, like, starting with like that Ex Machina, and then of course diving more into their like catalog of movies and stuff like that, it kind of gave me a more trained eye, I guess, like when I watch movies, like, oh, okay, like in this scene, like when you talk about like, Parasite, like even in Parasite, like there's that scene where the little boy is down in the kitchen getting the cake, and then homie's head rises up from the stairs.
Mm.
And it's
Incredible
like,
shot.
Mad eerie. Yeah.
it's mad eerie, but it's eerie because everything else is lit. Like the foreground of everything is lit enough to where okay, this is a dark kitchen. However, this one stairwell is pitch black.
Right.
Pitch black. But then when you see his head pop up, there's enough lighting on his face to where you can see that it's a person, and you can see that it's something, and it's not just a shadow in the dark. And I think stuff like that, like, seeing something like that is what makes good movie. That's what so I think, yeah, like I said, in my adulthood, there's not one specific film. I think it's just over
Stuff
the
you notice
course
over
of
time.
over
Right.
the course
Yeah.
of time. And I think that kind of built up like my appreciation for film and just everything.
I feel
Yeah.
that.
No, I feel that too. There are three A24 movies that come to mind for me real quick. One is The Witch. I'm not sure if y'all have seen The Witch.
I have seen that. That
Haven't
shit's
seen that
crazy.
one.
Yo,
Oh wait,
I've seen
The
like
Witch.
all the A24 movies,
No, I
man.
haven't seen The
yo,
Witch.
I've seen
man.
all
So
of them.
so for Curb and anybody else who hasn't seen it, The Witch is this really crazy, like very like it's a horror movie, but it's like really understated and like super duper subtle. It follows this like Puritan family that's like in somewhere in the Americas. It doesn't really matter, and like they the kids encounter a witch in the woods, and one of them gets infected by the witch, and it's just about like the family tearing itself apart trying to figure out the whole shit going on. And there's a goat,
Mm.
and there's a goat
It's a
that
devil.
may be the yeah, right. He
I
is
didn't
the
mean to spoil
devil,
it.
or he
Oops.
isn't no, it's all good. This is spoiler country. But like fucking it's like he either is the devil or isn't the devil. Like I guess he kind now that I think about it, he basically is the devil. And like
Oh yeah.
I don't want to say much else, but like the
No,
witch
that
is
sounds
really
dope.
tight. Like it's
It's tight.
like yeah, like the little exorcism scene they have with the kid in the bedroom, like
Yep.
where it's just like this, like he can't be older than like 10 or some shit, and he's just like acting. Like he's just like it's not even like over exaggerated, like crazy, like
Mm.
like he's like he makes that shit look excruciating, and I'm like, yo, like and like to just talk about the lighting, it's so stately, I guess is the word I could use for that. It's like really, I don't even want to call it classy because I hate that word, but like
Mm.
Mm.
it's like stately. So you got stuff like that, you got stuff like Ex Machina, you got stuff like Moonlight,
Bro.
which I think was
Mm-hmm.
like that 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 was another one that kind of like
Yeah.
changed my life on the low. Like
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw that movie, I saw it in theaters, and for one, I didn't know
same.
what it was about at all. I just heard it was a really good movie. I didn't know that it was about like homosexuality or anything at all. I literally just bought the ticket, went to go see it because I saw like black actors in it, and I wanted to go
Right.
support it. And then I was like one of probably six people in the theater watching it, and then it kind of just peaked. I was like, okay, this is actually about what it's about. And it didn't really make me feel a certain way about the movie. I just enjoyed it for what it was. I thought it was great. The storytelling was really good. The shots were good. Like Curb said, the lighting was good. And I think A24 does a great job all around with just storytelling and character development.
Yeah.
They honed in and killed it with that one. 1000%.
Nah, for
So,
sure.
so when you said The Witch, I had to Google it to make sure I haven't seen this movie. So there's another movie called The Witch, but it's a Korean movie, and I've seen that one. So at first I thought you were talking about, I was like, wait, I don't remember. But there's another one. But anyway,
I don't know if I've seen that one, but I definitely want to check it because like
that one is basically
I gotta watch that one now
it's
too.
it's basically Akira. It's that.
For real?
It's basically
Oh, I
that.
gotta
Like,
watch it
it's
now. It's on
all
it's
right,
Netflix
all
too.
right,
I'm
all
it's
watching
right.
it,
like
yo. I'm
it's
watching it
like
tonight.
what happens when you untap more of your brain, and it's one of those kind of movies.
That's hilarious.
Okay, I'm gonna watch it.
Nah, nah, it's fire. I'm with it too. So before we move on, or actually no, I guess we are moving on because yeah, that's how that works. So let's go back even further, which like for the both of you, I assume is even further. When did you both first fall in love with music?
Ooh,
Oof, you go first. You say
fall in love with music.
like making it or just like listening to it.
Just listening to it. It could be either
Listening,
one, but
okay.
like yeah, yeah.
Um, I think for me, the household that I grew up in um, was pretty, I guess you could say it's like pretty standard black household. Like my mom listened to like gospel and like oldies, soul, and like stuff like that. And I mean, she would listen to like some modern R&B and everything. My dad, on the other hand, um, listens to pretty much any, like if he likes it, he'll listen to it. He's one of those kind of people. So when it comes to like hip hop and rap, like growing up, like there would be phases where I would listen to like just B.I.G. and Bad Boy. There would be days where I'd hear like No Limit and like Master P. There'd be days where I'll hear like Pastor Troy, Lil Jon,
Ah, Pastor Troy.
all of
Hush.
that. There'll be days where I hear DMX. There'll be days where I hear Cash Money. Like there'd be days where I would hear Jay-Z, or so there was no type of like correlation to anything. So like riding in the car, I would hear like a bunch of different music, like when I would ride around with my dad. And I think that's what initially got me into like hip hop and like rap and stuff like that. I think when I really, really started to fall in love with like music was probably in like middle school. Um, After like the Clips, Lord Willin', I think that was the album that really kind of made me want to like be like, hey, you know what, this is what I want to do. Like I want to be a rapper. I had a friend who, so I was living, put some context to all of this. I was living in Germany at the time. So I was living in Germany, and for those listening who have military, parents and stuff and live in a different place, you can probably agree to this. So when you live in like Europe and you live in places outside the US, you get a lot of information a lot slower, or at least back then, because the internet wasn't really a thing like that. Like it was a thing, but it wasn't like, like you could download music and everything like that, but you still got to know about what's coming out. We didn't have Rap City. We had British MTV, and we also had German MTV on the military base. So that was kind of like how we would get new music. So my friend Mike, RIP to him, he ended up moving to, going back to Virginia, because that's where he was from. He went back to Virginia for the summer, and then came back and was like, yo, bro, the Clips, yo, they got this song, man. It's called Grinding, man. It's blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, okay, whatever, whatever, whatever. So then he had, back then Napster, downloaded it. Yo, listen to this. So I listened to it, and I was just like, what? I was like, yo, this is like the best thing that I've ever heard in my life. And then he's like, bro, they got an album coming out. And I was like, no. I was like, I need that. So album comes out, get the album. We're listening to it. Of course, all the Coke rap references and everything. It's going over our heads, but it's the fact that it's so like, it was so good, and like the delivery,
Production was
everything.
crazy.
We didn't care.
For
So
real.
we're listening to it. And my man's was like, because at the time he had braids, and then I had like the low, the fade or whatever. He's like, yo, I'm gonna be Pusha T. And I was like, yo, I'm gonna be Malice, bro. Yo, we gonna be the Clips, bro. And like, that's kind of like what segued me into like wanting to write music and wanting to be a part of like that, all of that, the culture and stuff like that. Yeah, so that's pretty much what it was. Just my dad listening to whatever. And then, of course, with my mom listening to older stuff that kind of helped, as a producer and stuff like that, getting older, looking for things to sample, kind of understanding the groups and understanding the time periods they come from and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what it was for me.
That's cool. And yeah, before I ask Dex the same question, like just talking about the Clips, like it's so they were everything. Like grinding was everything. Like just like hearing it banged out on lunch tables
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
was like the joint. Like everyone says that all the time, but like things become cliche for a reason. Like that was the song to do that with. But like it's weird because the first time I really got into the clips was when I heard Mr. Me Too. Like
Mm.
But
like
still, though,
That's
that's a good
crazy.
song, though.
It's a
That's
great
a good.
song.
Yeah.
yeah, like I saw the video. Like it was like it wasn't even just the song, it was the video that got me. And I was just like,
Mm.
"Oh, like these are the illest motherfuckers on the planet." Like I love this. Like
No, that
I
video was insane. You had Pharrell with the Bapesters, also with the
yeah,
Bapester jeans. Yeah, well, it might have been BBC, I'm not sure, but you also had Pharrell with the Louis Vuitton rag around his neck,
yeah.
with the Louis V millionaires. I'm telling you, like
Yeah. He
Yeah.
was just
that
flexing in like Virginia Beach, yo, which is crazy. Because
Like
Virginia
that
Beach is like that, and he's out there just like with millions of dollars worth of ice on and shit and like crazy
that
clothes.
era, yeah, that era of music is also kind of like when I tell people, they be like, "Oh, like what would you like?" I'm like, "Yo, I want to make music that reflects that time period. Like
Mm.
I want to bring back those times of like just the flex, but like not even just like the flex, but like being able to like rap about things that you actually have and that you can actually show that you have, but
Hmm.
also trend set at the same time.
I feel that.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Good times.
somebody else who was really good at that was Lupe. Lupe was really
Yes.
good at that.
Phenomenal at it.
Like yeah, like just go watch is just like that's a master class. And like that all that stuff was like tailored to him. Like no one was really
Yes.
rocking like
Nobody had to go
people
yard like that.
yeah,
Mm-mm.
nobody had Goyard, nobody had the Maharishi sandals or like just all
Mm-mm.
the I'm not gonna do the verse, but like, but yeah, and it's
Yeah,
funny
I'm hip.
because Dex, I saw you tweeting about you just picked up some jabos earlier today. Did you actually
Bro,
pick up jabos? Yeah,
I
Me
did, bro.
fire,
No,
son.
me
Yeah,
and him
bro.
were actually talking about it earlier today. I had texted
Yeah.
him. I texted him yesterday and was like, "Hey, bro, I'm thinking about getting some Jabos." And
Son.
then, and one of our favorite YouTubers, I wake up this morning and I look at the video, and he did a whole video, like basically almost a whole video on Jabos. And
No
I
Hmm.
was like, "Bro,
way.
I said, I have to get in here before the price goes up because the same
Yeah.
YouTuber did like stuff about Evisu and everything like that. And what
Oh
happened?
damn,
Price for Evisu, everything went
Price
up.
of the brick went up.
Went up. So
son.
I was like, no, we got to get in here now. We got to get in here
Yeah.
now.
Yo, could you find me that? Cause like I'm looking for
I got
more.
it
I'm
up
looking for
right
more like
now.
fashion. Yo,
Oh, we
yes,
got
yeah.
you. Shout out to
Drop that in
Keezy
the
TV.
hey. Drop that in
Yeah,
the
I
chat
got
because
you.
I'm looking for more fashion YouTubers for sure.
This
For
dude's
sure.
dope.
Hell yeah.
Boom. There you go.
Um, Thank you, bro. So yeah, Dex, tell me about you. When did you first fall in love with music? Like
Oh
either as a
man.
listener or like as a whoever. Like just
So
yeah.
it kind of goes like hand in hand for real for me. Cause like when I was younger, I took like piano lessons. Cause my mom was like big on piano. She was really big on the music. Like she used to sing. She was a phenomenal singer, and she played
Mm,
piano too. And then my dad, right? Like they're both from Philly, so they moved out to Maryland. Um, and like they went through their issues, they split, and like when I was with my mom, she would always listen to like cool, calm, relaxing music, whether it was like neo soul, Lauren Hill, or she would like sit me down, teach me how to play some songs on the piano, and then we'd start singing. But when I'm with my dad, like he would be driving around kind of like just angry at the world, pissed off. So we'd be listening to like DMX, Ja Rule,
Mm-hmm.
Jay-Z, and it was just like, damn, I'm getting like both sides of the spectrum. And then my next door neighbor, who was like my brother, Chris, R.I.P. Um, he was like part African and white, and like both of his parents kind of like dropped him into like music that they both like. So he was getting a little bit of like rock, and he's getting like the traditional like African music and everything like that. So I got a flavor of that too. Um, but just listening to that kind of just like transitioned me into how I listen to music now, because I listen to everything outside of like country. I don't really like country that much, but I'll listen to
No,
everything and I'll
no.
appreciate it, bro. But so I think like the moment when I actually realized that I like love music and I want to make music was when I was staying at my dad's for a weekend, and he had this old cassette player, like radio boombox, and he had a bunch of old cassettes, and I was like, can I use some of these? And what I used to do is like whenever I heard a song on the radio that I liked a lot, I would put the tape deck in there and make like mixtapes by just recording all the songs I like because I didn't have like a CD player or anything like that. So I had tapes, and I would have like a bunch of old Jay-Z songs on there that I would play on the radio. And I had some like little Bow Wow and stuff on there. And it was like the one song
Mm,
that he had with like a sample. I think it was like a Jackson 5 sample or something. I was like, this is fire. And then
mm,
my aunt, RIP, my aunt Kanisha, she gave me, I think it was, she gave me Jay-Z uh volume 1 and 3 or 1 and 2. It was
mm,
an unedited version because my mom wasn't trying to have me listen to that, but she just slid it to me like,
Mhm.
here, listen to this. And she gave me a CD player and shit too. And after that, like I was hooked. And like Jay-Z was my favorite rapper after that. Like everything you put out was fire. I haven't heard Reasonable Doubt. I didn't listen to that. I went back, listened to that. And I listened to like all Dipset shit, listened to all Killer Cam shit, all Jewel shit. There was a whole era when like I would walk down the hall in like middle school, like how Jewel Santana walked down in Santana Town. I don't know if you've seen that video.
yeah, of
When he
course.
I
walks
have,
out,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
bro,
yeah.
that
Yeah.
shit, I was like, dog, I'm that nigga, yo. And it was just like from there, it was like that was it. That was it. And then I was just hooked on hip hop. So it was like from the ages of 12 to like 17, that's all I listened to. And then I slowly dove into like Nerd and Pharrell and everybody like that. And then I got into some punk rock too as I got older. But I would say, yeah, it's all thanks to my family for real. And then my boy Aaron, Noah Ruffin, he kind of got me into making music because like I didn't really know exactly what I was doing. I like used to write poetry because I fucked with poetry heavy. But then he would always whenever I go to his house, like his grandparents' house, because like I didn't really want to be at my house sometimes because it was crazy and hectic. But I'll go to his house and we would watch like YouTube rap battles and shit. And then his dad got him like a Radio Shack mic and he was like, "You should just try and make music, yeah, yeah." So we just started getting into it, and we made a couple of songs. And then I think we were like 14, 15, and his dad bought us for his birthday like an hour session at the local studio. It was expensive as fuck back then.
Oh
Studio
damn.
time was expensive as hell. But yeah, I mean after that it was just like, yeah, I can see myself doing this for life. Like this is what I want to do. I don't care if I make a shit ton of money off of it. It's just something that like is an escape for me where I could just like take my mind away from any bullshit that I have going on in my life and just focus on something else. And it was therapeutic. Like if you go through and listen to my music, like you'll kind of get that shit. But yeah, to me, it's like it's a getaway from just bullshit that I go through, and that's kind of how I fell in love with it.
And that passion to really do it too. Like it's
Yeah,
like you just know when you stumble across something that it's like, yeah, I would be doing this even if I wasn't getting paid. Like as long as I got power and a computer and whatever, like I'm doing this. I don't give a yeah.
yeah,
I
Yeah, it's
feel it and I
crazy.
respect it.
That's crazy because that's around the time I started making music when I was around like 15. That's when I recorded my first song, is when I was
mm,
like 15. And the same thing, I had like a little $20 mic from Best Buy and stuff and
yup,
whatever. But it was so powerful, like to like, I would wake up in the morning and I would record before school. And then like I would take it and I would mix it down and then I would put it on a CD and I listen to that CD on the whole bus ride to school. I'd play it for people and be like, yo, check this out, listen to this,
yeah,
just to get like critique and get everything and like,
hmm
all that kind of stuff. And like that whole like having that thing that was like, yo, this is my thing. Like this is my thing that I can do whether I do it well or not. It was like, yo, this is my thing.
right,
And I can share it with people. And that was like the biggest thing for me, just like sharing it with people and being able to have people listen to it and stuff. So yeah, I feel that 100%.
Mm,
yeah,
yeah, absolutely. Um, so as you guys are like as y'all are starting to like build your musical tastes and just kind of like taking in media, like not even just music but just like media in general from all these different areas, especially as like the internet starts to speed up our processing or not speed up our processing power but just like
The
just
consumption.
consumption,
our
100%, yeah.
consumption rate for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
So like could y'all like do y'all remember the first time you consciously like linked film and music together in your head, like kind of like what Curb was talking about with like the noticing of like certain like technical aspects of a movie, or like Is there a
bro.
time when? Yeah.
100%. It was probably Godzilla 2000, because like I'm
Mm.
pretty sure didn't P Diddy Puff Daddy do the soundtrack for that? Am I thinking about a different Godzilla?
Uh,
There was
I
only one that could have been
Bro, I'm
that came
pretty.
out during that time, but I'm
Hold
not
up,
too sure.
hold
Gotta
up.
pull up
because
the
I
Googles.
gotta pull up the Google, bro, because I remember that. Was it the "Hate Me Now" song?
because the Godzilla 2000 I remember is the Japanese one, and then there's the other one that was like the one with Matthew Broderick and like Hank
That one.
Azaria. Oh, okay, okay,
Yes.
okay,
The very
okay.
bad one.
Yeah,
So whatever Godzilla came out in like 2000 or 1998.
That
that's
was
the
it.
one.
That
Yeah,
That's the
was
yeah,
one,
it.
that's
bro. Yeah,
Yeah.
the.
yeah. They
Yeah,
had
that's the
hella.
one.
I was like, yeah, this shit is fire. I had the cassette and everything, bro. That shit was crack. It was
Yeah.
good. The soundtrack for that, I was like, this is great. It
Nah,
was,
soundtrack for that's crazy for sure.
yeah. And
Yeah,
then
way
Wild
better than the
West
movie.
too.
Let me put that out there.
Yes.
Yeah, Wild
Yes.
Wild West.
Mm.
Mm.
Will
Tell
Smith
him, tell him.
bodied that shit. It was crazy. I think Eminem had a track on there too. That's when he was spitting. And then who else was on? I gotta look up that soundtrack now.
Yo,
Had Cisco
I
on that joint.
Cisco, yeah.
Ooh, I
That
tell
shit,
so many people about that movie and about that soundtrack. I love that movie. I don't care what anyone says. Like that's like a
bro.
guilty pleasure, personal favorite.
No,
They
it
had
was ahead of its time.
I'm gonna run
It
through
was
Yeah,
this real quick.
steampunk.
They
It
had
was
they had
steampunk.
they had
for
Will
sure.
Smith, Drew Hill, Blackstreet, Blackstreet,
Blackstreet, son.
Eminem, Dr. Dre, Neutral, Guy, Bow Wow, Enrique Iglesias, I always fuck his name up. MC
Iglesias,
Light,
Iglesias.
yeah.
Iglesias, MC Light, Faith Evans, Slick Rick, and Common.
Yikes.
Come on, bro.
Yo,
Come on,
Yikes.
bro. That shit was crazy.
Yikes.
Yeah, that was the one.
nah, for sure. Like, yeah, nah, that was like I don't know if y'all ever heard Will Smith's Millennium album, but they put the
Yes.
wow, yeah, 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 yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that song is on there, and like that was the only one I ever wanted to listen to. It was like that, and yo, some of those songs are so corny now that I think about it. But like Wild Wild West was it. That was all I wanted to hear for like a year straight. I love that
So
song.
Big Willie Style was actually the first album I ever bought in my life, like by myself, like first CD. I walked into, it was like a Sam Goody, I think. I think it was Sam Goody. And
Yikes.
I
Mm,
had like,
Shout
I
out
think it
to
was like,
people who are too young to know what that is.
bro,
yeah,
I
for
walked
real.
into the mall and I went into Sam Goody and I was like trying to get I wasn't trying to get the Will Smith joint. I was trying to get a different album, but it had like the parental advisory sticker on it. And I was a young little kid. They were like, nah, we can't sell you that. So I just caught the Will Smith joint.
Because it was clean.
Yeah,
And
it was
you know what
clean.
I'm saying?
Exactly. Exactly. But that joint still went though. It was good at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't listened to it in a while, but yeah.
And the cover was kind of fresh too, because that's the one where he's like on the roof and shit. Yeah,
Yup.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't blame you.
That was the one,
Kurt,
man.
yo, Curb. What about you? You have any moments like that you could think of?
Where the music and I would say, I mean, most of the black movies that came out in the 90s had really great soundtracks.
Hmm.
The Wood,
Wow.
um, what was it? Thin Line Between Love and Hate. Like there's just so many. Like there's a lot. Like I can go through the whole list. Like, um, I think for me, like those soundtracks stuck out to me back then because, like I said, my dad would listen to a lot of stuff, my mom would listen to a lot of stuff, and we saw most of the black movies that came out during that time, like in the
Hmm.
90s. So I really didn't understand what a soundtrack was at that time because it wasn't like an anime soundtrack. You know what I mean? Like, I think for me, like listening to anime was an easy way for me to conceptualize what a soundtrack is. Because
Mm.
then it was just like, we're going to take like the hottest R&B singers and rappers during this time, and we're going to like just take singles from them and throw them on a project and call it a soundtrack.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And there was like there really, I mean, the songs just all kind of had to do with like one kind of thing almost sometimes. So I never really understood the concept of that until I really started watching like anime and stuff like that. And then I kind of went back and looked at like other like films and then started listening to like soundtrack and scoring and stuff like that. Um, so I would say it was probably anime first that got me to kind of notice it outside of just the, whatever. And then I went back and listened to film soundtracks to appreciate them more.
Was there any one specific anime soundtrack that kind of like did it for you, or was it just like a combination of a whole bunch?
Man, it was a combination of a whole bunch because I had went through like my semi-weeb phase. Like in like college, I would go, like I was going super hard. So I was like downloading a bunch of OSTs and everything. And like the thing that I used to do back then is I used to make beat tapes with the OSTs. Like I would sample the OSTs to make beat tapes. Yeah. So I did one for Soul Leader. I did one for Welcome to the NHK. And then I kind of stopped sampling the anime stuff and just was like, yo, I'm going to use vinyl, and I'm going to find vinyl and find songs that match the show. And I'm going to make it as if I was scoring the show, but using like samples and stuff, all that kind of stuff. But
that's gas. That's fire.
Yeah. So I think that's when I really got into it, like during that era of making those beat tapes and stuff, where I was actively sitting and listening to OSTs and like actually like listening to J-Rock and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I want to say the one that sticks out the most to me that I used to listen to all the time was the Genshiken. I don't know if y'all ever watched that, but Genshiken had a really good one that I would listen to.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's a slice of life about college students, because I was in college, that are into anime. And one of the main characters joins the anime club because he's like, yo, I don't want people to think I'm some kind of weirdo by joining the club. And he's like, yo, all these guys in here are kind of weird, bro. But then he realizes, he's like, yo, I'm just as big as a weeb as they are. And these are my people and whatever. But anyway, I listen to that soundtrack a lot just because of what the show meant to me and stuff.
Wow. Nah, I haven't seen that either. So yeah, I definitely got to tap in at some point too. I've been having some moments where I've just needed to like, I just feel a little more connected to anime now than I did a little while. Like I've always been connected to it, but like I just feel more, I have more of an appetite for it right now than I have in a minute. So I'm just like looking for new stuff always. So I'm gonna tap in at some point.
So I used to only watch like all like the action fighting anime. So now I'm like talking to Curb about just getting into like the slice of life anime or something like that.
I be getting him.
He puts me in, yo. I don't watch any of that. Like it was never my cup of tea, but now I'm like slowly diving into it, and I'm like, shit, this is crazy. Like the story. What was the one? The one that's on about the deaf chick.
Oh, a Silent Voice Boy.
Bro. I watched that like 3 times, bro. I watched it like 3 times.
Man.
Yeah.
Yo.
The only other one that I saw comparable close to that was like The Grave of Fireflies. That shit, that's the only movie I've ever cried watching. Like the only movie ever.
I cried at least 5 times during A Silent Voice by myself, and then I watched it with my wife, and I was like, "Look, dog," I said, there's going to be at least 5 parts in the movie, and I know they're coming up, but I'm gonna cry. So if you look over and whatever, like just know your boy, like I'm on the field train, and yeah.
Damn.
See,
you got some good recommendations, bro.
See, the thing that did that for me recently was Your Name. I'm sure y'all.
I watched that one.
That's a good one too.
I watched that one. I actually watched that one on the flight to Japan, and I was sitting there and I was watching it, and I was like, "Yo, this is kind of sad."
That was just I'm sorry, I gotta spoil it. Like the whole bit where never mind. I'm not gonna spoil it. Just the whole story of Your Name is just like it's really the type of movie that everyone should experience, like as cold as possible. Like just know that, like anybody listening, just know that it's a movie. It's like a time displaced love movie. That's all you gotta know.
Yes.
Like please go watch Your Name. It's really like I think it almost got nominated for an Oscar if I remember correctly. So like go watch that shit. It's crazy.
At one point, it was the top grossing film in Japan of all time.
Yes, it was.
At one point, it was. Yes.
Like so that's
Demon Slayer dog that too.
Demon Slayer. Recent. I thought so. Yeah. Still haven't seen the Demon Slayer movie yet either. But I got to finish the show before I see the movie. But.
Yeah, but watch A Silent Voice if you haven't seen that.
Yeah, because that's on Netflix.
Too.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, but watch I watched
I watched it both,
I
dub and
watched the
sub.
dub and subbed,
Yeah,
but dubbed the dubbed is good still. Like it holds up. Regardless of which one you watch. Like watch it. I'm telling you.
yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up. Just like real quick before we move on to like you guys' individual music for a second. Um, I'm I'm kind of tired of the dub v sub conversation. Like like it's just one of those things that people like to hold over other people's heads,
Mm,
and I like it really depends for me, right? Because like there are some shows that I'm gonna watch that have an incredible dub and an incredible sub, and there are
mhm,
some where let me rephrase that. There are some that have an incredible dub and some that have an incredible sub, and like it really just depends for me. Like Samurai Champloo, I love the sub. Like I'll watch Samurai Champloo in Japanese subbed every time. But Bebop, I'm gonna watch that dubbed every time. Full Metal
I
Alchemist
feel you on
Brotherhood, I'm
that.
gonna watch that dubbed every time. Like it really just depends on I guess how you first introduced and just like what your general thing is. But like
mm.
Right.
it's they both have merit and they're both cool and they can both suck sometimes. It really
Mhm.
depends. Like that's that,
100%.
that that's just me though. That's just
I
me.
think I think one of the things that people don't like, okay, so when you talk about sub versus dub, it is all about preference. I also think it's all about convenience as well.
Yeah.
If you're the type of person like me, like a lot of times I'm watching TV while I cook or watching TV while I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And it's like got a 50-inch TV, but at the same time, I don't want to have to look at the screen the whole entire time while I'm trying to cook or while I'm trying to move around. So I don't mind listening to the
Oh.
dub. Yes, some of the dubs might not be that great, but you got to understand that like a lot of the times these people who are like American voice actors, their training and whatever isn't as extensive as like the Japanese voice actors. Like they go to a school for voice acting and that's what they
Hmm.
do. So
Right.
a lot of them are very multifaceted to where like I don't know if you've ever watched K-On before.
No,
It's
I haven't.
okay, so it's a music anime about these high school girls who just hang out in the music room and they're in a band, like a punk band, and they just make music and drink tea. And that's it. That's what the whole entire series is about. It's no and but the
That's
thing
tight.
is like the voice actors are able to be the singers as well.
Oh, that's tough.
You know what I mean?
That's
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
and there are a couple of other shows like that, like
You seen Beck?
I have, yes.
I
Is
haven't.
it the same case there too?
Yeah, so it's like
Yeah.
they're trained like because they're voice actors, and I don't know if whatchamacallit just did something about this. What's his name? Jamie Foxx. People were like, he did a video about his impersonation. They were like,
Yep.
how are you so good at doing these impersonations? He said, well, if you understand a person's vocal tone and the way they speak and everything like that, and him being an actor and everything like that, it's easy for him to be able to mimic that.
Hmm.
And I feel like it's that way with the dub. Like with the dub, like these people are able to sing like the Bake Monogatari has multiple opening sequences for the series. And in some of the openings, the voice actors are singing the opening songs for the series, and they'll pick like the one voice actor who or the character that it's that particular arc is based on, and they'll sing the song.
That's
And
legit.
it's yeah, and it's because and they're able to do that because of their training and stuff like that. So when people like be like, oh, well, the dub is better because da, 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 and it's like, well, in some cases, yeah, like you got to get it. Like this studio just hired a person who just went through years and years and years of voice acting school, who can also be a singer and a pop idol if they wanted to.
Right.
And also, it's in the native language, so you're gonna think it sounds better anyway because you don't really speak it like that, so you don't really know if like if the speaking is actually natural or anything like that. So there's a lot of elements to it. I'm the type of person, if you like it, you like it. If like just watch whatever you like. Because at the end of the
Exactly.
day, you're watching the same exact thing. You can still talk about it. Like there's
Right.
not going to be a situation where it's like, well, I watched the sub, so I can't talk about the show with you. And it's like, no, it's
Like
still the
what
same
the
show,
fuck?
Mhm.
Yeah.
stupid. Like,
So I got two gripes with that argument, right? So like you were saying, it's a point of convenience, but then also sometimes it's a completely different show too, like with Naruto, right? Just the way that they target the audience, like the Naruto version that I saw at first was like the English one, and it was kind of just like really kid friendly. It didn't really seem like that deep of a show. It kind of
yeah,
seemed like a cartoon that was Americanized. And then when I went back and watched it when I was like 22, because my cousin told me just to check it out with the subtitles, it was a completely different, like deeper journey through this kid's life who went through a bunch of shit and had to overcome it to be like the Hokage.
and
It just
sometimes
hit different.
that's the studio's decision though,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, totally.
so
How they want to
so
market it.
yeah, and also
Mm-hmm.
like for like Bakemonogatari, I'm gonna bring it up because it's my favorite anime series of all time. But for Bakemonogatari, there isn't an English dub for that show.
Tough.
And the reason why there isn't an English dub for that show is because the author of the light novels and everything was like, I don't want any of the meaning of what I wrote to be lost in translation.
Mm.
Nah, I feel that. I
Because
feel that.
he was like, there's a lot of jokes that are only for Japanese people to get. Like, only if you're Japanese do you understand like the play on words with people's names and the kanji and everything. Like, so he's like, I don't want you to take that out of my show and then make it some Americanized version or
Exactly.
whatever. So it's
That's
like, I
hard.
want to keep this the way it is. So there's not an English dub that's ever going to be exist ever or anything like that. There are people that have taken it and like done like fan ones and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
as far as an official one, there's never going to be an official one.
See,
So
That's hard. That's
it's
hard.
like
I like that.
it's actually I'm saying like Naruto, right? They did the American version. It sounded like a completely different show. It sounded kiddie, and I just wasn't for it. And then another gripe that I have is like sometimes when they have dubs, it just looks off. You feel me? Because like they
oh yeah.
animate it and they do it for
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Japanese people to say it. So when they're saying it in English, it's just like it doesn't look good. It just looks off.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Nah. Not like yeah, like this is this is kind of what I mean when I say it's like really it's really like contextual and
Mhm.
all of that. Like it really just depends on the show because some like I don't know why I remember this, but I don't like if y'all ever watched Samurai Pizza Cats before? Ever?
No.
Mm-mm.
So long story short, it's basically Power Rangers, but they're samurai cats. And like the show
I'm with you.
so like I want to say it came out in like the mid. I want to say like from like the mid, sometime either in the mid '80s or the early to mid '90s. I forget. So like the show had a like Dex was saying, it had like a completely different tone in Japanese. Like it was kind of like it wasn't like solemn or like too serious, but it was kind of like middle of the road. Kind of it was almost kind of like a slice of life show, except there's samurai pizza cats in it.
Mm.
But like they never made an official dub for the show, and Deke got a hold of it, and the writers at Deke had to figure out like they never got any translation for it, so they just had to write the English script for the show, just having watched the show, not understanding Japanese. So they literally had to figure out what the fuck the show was about as it went along, and it completely changed the tone of the show. They turned it into like a wacky, like fucking slapstick comedy show, which is cool, but like I think that speaks to exactly what Dex is talking about with the Naruto thing. It's just really because like that was, but like here they just like they said fuck it, we're just gonna write our own
Mm.
show and just like fill in the blanks and guess, and like there's pros and cons to that, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Kind of like ghost stories, how they just took the ghost stories, and you know about ghost stories?
Yeah, I know about
I
ghost
do,
stories.
yeah.
They're
Yeah,
like
and
13-minute shorts, right? Is that what they
uh,
are?
no, it's like full episodes. They just took it and they
I
were
think about
like,
something else.
"Yo, we don't have no script, so we're just gonna turn this into like one of the most vulgar, um, like trolly, like anime dubs of all time." And they just had complete freedom to just do whatever they wanted to do with it because they didn't have, anything to go by. Yeah,
Mm.
that's what that reminded me of.
Man, it's just so interesting to see those like cultural differences get explored in something that, especially now, like considering how like universal anime has become, especially in the last like 20 years, like just to
Right.
Mhm.
see just to see how other culture, like yeah, like I wonder if that's a thing in other countries, like not even just like the States or Japan. Like I wonder if it's that way in like Europe, And I
Oh, it
wonder if it's that
is.
way, like in like
Yeah, so
Africa and shit.
you
Like
go on
that's
like
crazy.
Crunchyroll, they have like different dubs now. They have like Russian dubs, Spanish dubs, and they're all under like the same anime and they pop up. It's crazy. Because before like 3 years ago, they didn't have Russian or Spanish dubs for half these anime that were coming out.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
think it's the
Not.
same thing.
Like that idea is just really interesting to me. Like how anime translates between countries. Like not even just our two countries, but like everywhere
Mm-hmm.
else too. Like those cultural differences are always really cool to me. Like that's it's also just really funny.
Yeah.
Um, so let's run this back to music real quick, because like of course, like you guys are kind of like at this point you're both building your palettes when it comes to both music and film, and like Curb, as you really start to like gear up and come into your own. Because like for me personally, I first came on to your music when Wolf's Clothing came out, and that's when I was like really paying attention. And of course you've taken like you took this sheep character and like made I don't want to say the sheep character is like tied to Milk Tea Chronicles, but like if I'm looking at the cover art and like listening to some of the songs, it kind of feels like it just kind of feels like some of the themes kind of seep throughout. So I was just curious about like where the idea of the sheep character came from, and I guess how, if at all, it kind of ties into what you were doing with Milk Tea Chronicles.
Okay, so the sheep character, so um let's see. Okay, so when I was working on Wolves Clothing, I was watching, I don't know how I got into this side of YouTube, but sometimes you know how you just get sucked up into YouTube and you're just whatever. So I started
Yep.
watching episodes of Sheep in the Big City, and I'm watching Sheep in the
Classic.
Big City, and I'm like, this show, like, as a kid I watched it, and as an adult I'm watching, I'm like, yo, this show is crazy. And I was like, yo, it'd be cool. Like, I joke to myself a lot, and I'm like, yo, it'd be cool if I did like a concept project about a sheep in a city, but not make it like this, but make it like, what if the other people were like animals and stuff, and like,
Mm.
all this and that. So that was kind of, it started off as a joke. Um, and then I sat down and then I started working on it. And then I had the idea of like, okay, so instead of doing a wolf in sheep's clothing, what I guess to me, what would resonate more would be a sheep in wolf's clothing. Like what happens when the sheep who's in the city or the sheep who's out there has to gear up and protect themselves from the environment. What happens when you need to actually blend in with your surroundings. And I feel like for me, myself, that's something that I had to live through. You know what I'm saying? Growing up, it's like sometimes you get put in real tough situations, and it's like you either adapt and you go with how everything is going, or you don't and you get jammed up. So it's like, all right, cool, I need to learn how to adapt. I need to learn how, okay, if it comes down to it, gotta throw them hands. Okay, if it comes down to it, we gotta do, it has to be, that's just what it is. So I was like, well, what happens when that happens? Like what happens when the person that society looks at as like weak, or it looks at as like, always being humble or being whatever? Like what happens when they have to change? And then why do they have to change? Like, is it internal? Is it external? Like, what are the things that are making this sheep want to become a wolf and want to become more predatory, wanting to be, so that's where that idea came from. Came from a lot of loss, a lot of anger, a lot of, all that kind of stuff. Um, and when you talk about Milk Tea Chronicles, well, I guess to backtrack, for those who don't know, if you go and you look at the Wolves Clothing cover, shout out to my wife, she shot that cover.
Did a
I'm
great job.
sitting,
Shout out.
yeah, I'm
For
sitting
real.
there and I had a sheep mask on. I was on my Doom back then. I was trying to, kind of like Doom. So I had the sheep mask on, and like I actually like had makeup around my eyes to match the color of the mask so it could all blend in and everything. And I had like I had bought some like wool like stuffing, and I stuffed it in the front of my hoodie to make it look like the wool was coming out, so you couldn't actually see my
Oh
neck and
damn.
everything. Oh yeah, we go all out at Broke Boys Productions. That's the name of our that's the name
Son.
of our production studio, Broke Boys Productions. So went all out for that. So did that, and then later on, the sheep kind of became like a symbol. It became like a thing. And when I did Milk Tea Chronicles, at that time, I was watching a lot of Adventure Time. Like I actually marathon Adventure Time. Like I watched the whole entire thing. And then except for the finale and everything, because that wasn't out.
It wasn't out yet.
Yeah, that last season wasn't out yet. But I watched all the way up until the whole thing about when they were getting ready to start the war. And I was sitting down and I was like, yo, again, it was a joke. And I was like, haha, like Finn and Jake, like it could be me, except instead of a dog, I could have a sheep, and it could be a sheep named Sheepington. And it's you know, like that was the thought process. So a lot of my things start as jokes. So I threw that out there, and my wife was like, yeah, that sounds cool. And I was like, oh, okay, well, let's see what we can do with this. So then I reached out to Crystal Face, and Crystal Face drew it up. And once Crystal Face drew up the character and I could see it, and I was like, yes, that's it. Like that is the mascot of the series is going to be this sheep. Like that's the mascot. And Simo, the cell phone. And then when I did Mad Sheepery, I rapped from the perspective of a sheep again, but this time it was Sheepington, the sheep that exists in the wolves clothing, not wolves clothing, I'm sorry, in the well, there's fanfic out there about it that it could be the like there are people that have hit me up and been like, yo, is there any connection between the two because of this and da 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 da.
That's a flex,
you know,
bro.
There's a lot of
that's a flex.
So there are people. So there are people that have created this theory that they are the same person. If that's your theory, I think it sounds really cool. It wasn't intentional, but go with it. It makes me sound a lot cooler than I am. So yes, go with it. But I'm rapping from the viewpoint of this sheep that is kind of like the more outspoken slash I guess you could say they're like the kind of like the ego of the main character. Like this sheep represents the ego. Like he's coming in, he's giving you the flex raps, he's giving you like all this and that, like he's talking down on other rappers and like all this and that. And then you have like the main character who's more so about like talking about life and talking about like finding your light and like all this like peaceful, positive, upbeat things. So that's where those two characters came from. The lines kind of do cross a little bit. You know.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm glad you brought up the Adventure Time comparison because yeah, when I saw the cover for let me just make sure I got the right one here. Yeah, it was Mad Sheepery. I saw that and I was like, I legit thought it was something from Adventure Time, like just seeing the skeleton hands come in. It looked like some Lich King shit, and I was like, wow, like okay, like
shout out to Crystal Face. Crystal Face did the artwork. Yeah, he, you know, I came to him and was like, yo, I've been watching a lot of Adventure Time, so we need to do something Adventure Time, and he was like, I got you. So the first one he kind of made to look like, you know how like at the beginning of the episode how they have the title card and it's kind of like paint like it's like paint. So he did the first one like that. And then
that's fire.
The rest of them, and then the rest of them, he was like, all right, cool, I'm going to put little Easter eggs like the show. I'm going to put Easter eggs from each one. So if you look at the second cover for Voicemail Blues, there's a poster in the background of the first cover. And then in the Mad Sheepery one, when you talk about the Lich Hands and the green, whatever, if you go back and look at the first one, the Lich is over the city and everything in the green cloud and all of that. So yeah, they all kind of go together. Yeah,
no, that's beautiful. Like yeah, just like the concept is just dope. And regardless of how like tight or loose it might be, it just kind of gives a nice direction to everything, and just like it just suits the music, you know, like it really just suits the music. So
yeah, I try to make to relate it back to film, I try to make things that are like, and when you listen to it, you feel like you can watch it. And that was the main thing. Like I did that with Digital Boogeyman. That was the first time that I actually tried making a project that would be like, okay, you could watch this could play out like a movie, and it's super conceptual. And then when I did Wolves Clothing, I was like, I'm going to take it a step further. And I wanted that to be more like a play, And that's why you have those intermissions in between songs with the narration and like you have the
Totally.
poetry and like all of that. And the whole thing is supposed to play out like a play, like a drama. Um, and that's one of the things like, film, like I take a lot of inspiration from that, like writing and like visual, visually and all that. Like, how is this going to flow? And when it flows, are people going to be able to sit and visualize the music?
Right.
Right. Yeah,
That's
no,
dope, man.
that really is, and that's so important. And Dex, to kind of roll over to you, that's something that there we go. Sorry. That's something that like I've only been able to spend like a few days with all the stuff that you have on Bandcamp, but like especially talking to you about how like music was an escape and how it just kind of like helped to center you, and like and like also being the product of a divorced parent household. I 100% relate. Like, like
Yeah.
I really got that type of vibe from something like I Died Here. Like just
Mm. Yeah.
and like I can't really explain
Classic.
why,
Like,
but like it just, yeah, like it just feels, there's just like there's something almost like it's like both chaotic and comforting about a project like I Died Here. So like if you could like run us through what you were kind of thinking, like what the process was behind that project at that time.
man.
That'd be tight.
Oof. So yeah. Uh, so to go into this, I kind of got to backtrack into another project that I made before that got me like the connects to make this project. So I made Transmitted 1990 Waves with Cram. And
Shout
that
out
was
to
the first
Cram.
project like that I've ever done with any sort of Japanese artist at all. And I got introduced to Cram because I put out like a mixtape on SoundCloud when SoundCloud was popping back in the day. And it had like all these crazy producers that were blowing up on SoundCloud, and it started off as me just like finding their beats, reaching out to them and saying, "Hey, can I rap over this?" And I would send them back the song that I made, and they'd be like, "Yo, this is hard as shit. You could use it, yeah, yeah." So I put it out, and it was I think it was called like 713. And after I put out that, I had a track on there called "If I Die Tonight," and that shit just went like viral on SoundCloud. So I had like hella producers hitting me up about it, and one of them just happened to be Cram, and he was from Japan. And I was like, yo, it'd be dope as shit to work with a Japanese producer. And he wasn't like, he was up and coming. It wasn't like he was doing shows every night like how he is now. But he sent me like 50 beats like in a zip folder. And
Sheesh.
I was like, damn, all these shits are fucking fire. And so Curb knows how I get down. Like, so I just like started
Mm.
writing, cranking out hella songs
He
to
gets
this.
the song done before he gets the beat. Like it's literally recorded. Like it's recorded. So when you send him the beat, he automatically sends you something back, and it's like, oh, I already got it done. And it's like, wait, how?
Bro. So yeah, I did that, and we made probably like 30 songs, right? So we had an EP come out. Um, I think it's on Spotify and Bandcamp and everything like that. It's called The Fifth Element. That was the EP that came out
Mm-hmm.
before the Transmitted 1990 Waves came out. And so I had no idea what was going to happen when we put that out. I had no clue. Like I just sent them the tracks. I was like, here, man, this is what I did. And then this guy, like he shops it around to like independent record labels out in Japan. We have like 3 offers coming in. I'm like, what the fuck is this? This is crazy to me. So he just like picked one. We got a contract written up in deals and like splits and everything. And before I knew it, like I saw this record in Tower Records over in Shibuya. It was fucking
Man.
nuts. And I'm like 19, 20 years old. I don't know what the hell is really going on when I'm like in the process of making this. Uh, and then it occurs to me that like, I could actually do this shit. I could probably go over there and like tour and everything. And then I stack up some bread, and I was about to do it. And then like I got into some shit, and I was about to be like on probation, and I couldn't travel or anything. But that's like a whole nother story. Um, but my lawyer was good. He was able to get me off, so they were able to postpone all the shit. So I was able to go out on tour in Japan for like a month, and I got to meet like everybody, like Laugh Life, a bunch of other rappers, NF, producers, and I don't know. I guess I kind of got to backtrack too. But growing up rapping, like when I first got into rap, like Bug Seed was like a household name. Like he was just a legend. Like all my friends would download his beats and rap over him. And I was just telling Cram, like, yo, Bugsy, would be dope to meet him when I come out there. And he was like, Bugsy, wait, yeah, I know him. And he's like, I talk to him all the time. So I did one of my shows, and he was there. And I don't know if you know too much about Bugsy, but this dude's like, he's an underground legend. Like Wiz Khalifa stole some of his shit to rap on it, and there was like a whole lawsuit issue behind it and
I'm
everything.
a I'm a little familiar, but like
Yeah.
yeah, like that's crazy.
So I went out to Japan. I toured Japan. I got to meet Bugsy, and I was like, bro, it'd be a fucking honor if we could like make music and everything. And he was all for it. So when I went back, he started sending me beats. And at the time, like where my head was at and like shit I had going on, like some of my friends passing and getting locked up and doing all this shit, I just had to like reflect on my life and where I was and the shit I was going through. Um and like shit that I saw when I was over there. So I really just had the chance to like dig deep and like go through the emotions of shit that I like had to process when I was younger, and then also shit that I saw changing around me with like me getting into the workforce, having a real job and everything like that, and then some of my friends doing like dumb shit, and yeah, yeah, man, it's just like I said, it was like an outlet, and it was just awesome to be able to do over Bugsy Beats. Like he's one of my favorite producers of all time.
Right.
Um, so it was just tough. It was real tough to make that project with him.
And yeah, just like considering, like that's also a flex, like considering his pedigree and the fact that like you're seeing all this stuff, like at like having a record in a record store in another country at 19 or 20 years old. That's fucking loose. That's
Yeah,
crazy, son. Like that's
yeah,
and then for that to lead to something like I died here, like that's a hell of a journey, bro.
yeah.
Like
Thank
wow.
you.
And
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
actually that's actually when me and him like linked to even like not even linked because I had known Dex way before all of this.
I was gonna ask
that's
this.
facts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we are alumni of the Back to Pluto blog.
yeah,
We are
Hey.
alumni, which when you look at the Back to Pluto roster back then and look at it now, a lot of us have really gone on to do. I want to say that we are like the most established and consistent of probably any alumni from any blog back then, and I'll put that on everything.
it's facts. It's
I
facts
would say
though.
we are the most, yeah, because we're all still doing stuff. You got Armel still
Oh,
doing
Mel's
stuff,
killing
Surrey
shit.
EU is still doing
Yeah,
stuff,
killing
I'm
shit.
still
Shout out to
doing
them.
stuff, Boogs
Yeah,
is still doing stuff.
Shout out to
Like
the
everybody,
squad. Hell yeah.
yeah, everybody's still doing stuff. And I remember Dex posted a picture of himself. I think it was like in front of Tokyo Tower or some shit like that
hey,
on
yo.
Twitter. And I was like, what? I was like, this nigga's in Japan. What? So I'm like, so like, how did he do this? What is going on? So I like tweet him and I'm like, bro, are you in Japan? He's like, oh yeah, I'm out in Japan, bro. I'm on tour. And I was just like,
Bro,
what?
I'm the worst at social media, bro. Like, I'll
I
tell you
was
this,
like,
yo. If I would have documented my moves that I was like have been making and all this other shit, like it'd be a different story. But I just suck at tweeting. I'm terrible at like taking pictures and posting the shit. So it was just like a low key flex. Like, yeah, I'm
yeah,
out.
he was just like, oh yeah, I'm out in Japan, bro. I'm on tour, bro. And I'm just like, he's on tour. I'm like, how? I'm like, how is this happening? Like, I don't understand. So I'm like, we're like talking about it or whatever. And then I want to say it was like a couple. What year was that? I don't even remember what year was that.
2016.
Okay, so 2016 that happened. So then
Yeah.
2017, I go to Japan. So I go to Japan, whatever, and I get back, and then I started working on Milk Tea Chronicles, and I started working on the second one. And I was like, yo, it'd be dope if I can get somebody who raps, who has been to Japan before, who understands exactly what it is that I'm referencing in these songs, and it all can come together and make sense. And I was like, oh, I know somebody. So I reached out to Dex. I was like, yo, bro, I got this song. Like, you want to be on it? Blah, blah. Sent it to him. He sent it back. And then that's pretty much how it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've known of his music since like what 2000, I don't know, 2010,
Bruh.
2011, a long time.
Yeah. I remember
Long
the first
time.
time you reached out to me, it was like I put out, I think like orange soda, grape soda.
Yeah,
It
that
was like
was the
random
Stoop
the
Kid
Stu
EP.
Kid, yeah.
Yeah,
And
still
you
got
like
it.
he was like he sent me a tweet. He was like, "Man, I would love to work with Dexter Fizz." And I was like, "Damn, yeah, that's crazy that somebody actually like wants to work with me and shit." Because like everybody else that I knew that I made music with was just people that were like around me. So to have people reach out to me on like Twitter and Instagram saying they wanted to work with me and like they like my music was just crazy, especially other artists. And he was like one of
Mm.
the first ones to ever do it. Besides like the people that I immediately worked with, I just thought that shit was dope. But yeah, I remember.
That's a new level, like when people start reaching out to you from places, not necessarily places you never heard of, but like places you're not at. Like
Yeah,
That's a new level type shit. That's wonderful. And
that
like,
was tough.
and now I'm happy you both kind of brought up Japan, because you both have this relationship with the country, and like, of course, you both been there. Um,
Mm.
so before we get into the last train, I guess I was just curious about, like, outside of you guys' fascination with anime and everything, like, what is it about, like, the culture and, like, being in Japan that kind of, like, rooted you to the country when y'all finally got to go? Or like, actually, let me ask that differently. Like, what inspired you to, like, want to go? And then what about being there when you got there was like, yo, this shit is ill?
Mm.
Yeah, you could go first.
Okay.
Yeah.
So of course, like you said, the anime, blah blah blah. So I had always wanted. So growing up in the '90s, I was born in 1990. So I was there. I was old enough to actually understand tsunami and get all of that kind of stuff. So as a kid, I had did research on Japan and like learning more about it and stuff like that. But originally, it was surface value. It was just the anime thing. Um, Fast forward to graduation of high school in 2008, my mom was like, yo, for graduation, I know you want to go to Japan. You're always talking about it. Like, I can fly you out and you can stay out there for 2 weeks, but you have to stay with one of my old work friends out there because he lives out there right now because she worked for the government. So, you can live wherever there's a military base. So I was like, I was like, I could go out there. I'm 18 years old. I'm finally like out of school. Like I can be, me, who I am. And I was like, well, if I go out there, I'm not going to be where like in Tokyo, like I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to be able to move like I want to because I'm going to be staying with somebody else. Like I'm a guest in their house. Like I just can't come and go as I please. And like, all of that kind of stuff. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to hold off on that. And I'm just not going to, whatever. So fast forward to 2000 and summer of 2000, not summer 2012. Yeah, fast forward to summer 2012. I took two Japanese courses at the community college here in Austin. Took Japanese 1 and 2, accelerated. So it was a lot of information really fast, whatever. So I took those, I started learning the language. In learning the language, of course, you learn about, and the classes are about the culture, they're about like all that kind of stuff too. So I'm learning more so about the culture, I'm learning more so about like all these things. And then I wanted to go, but I always thought maybe it wasn't a thing that'll ever happen, because it's just like I'm getting older, I'm about to get out of school, I'm graduating from college 2012. I got to start working. Like, my mind was just on like life, like adult stuff. So fast forward to 2000, 2016 when I proposed to my now wife. We were talking and we were like, yo, like, what are we going to do for our honeymoon? Because our wedding was in August of the following year. So we were talking and she was like, hey, let's go to Japan. And I was like, nah, fam,
Mm.
you ain't for real, bro. Like, I'm like, nah, you not for real. You not for real. You not for real. But she was like, no, she's like, that's something that you've always wanted to do. And you have the money to do it. Like you have a job where you have like 5 weeks of PTO. You just take off and go. And I was like,
Right.
okay. So we started looking up, doing research. And in that, like doing a lot of the research ongoing and like everything built up my knowledge even more about everything. So when we first went in 2017, we got married August 12th. We left for Japan on the 14th. So we got married. We had one day to pack and then hopped on a plane and flew out to Japan.
Damn.
So we were out
Nice.
there for, like what, 2.5 weeks. We were out there,
Dope.
everything. And just taking in everything and the culture and just like, I'm the type of person, like I like to be like in the city and I liked things happening and everything. And I think that was one of the
Same.
reasons that really drew me towards it because it was like New York. Like if you took like Manhattan, but then you multiplied that times like 100. And it's just like so many things happening, so many tall buildings, so many like everything
Mm-hmm.
is moving. And I really enjoyed that. And my wife, she's kind of one of the ones like kind of like polar opposites. Like
Hmm.
she's not really like an anime head or anything. Like she'll watch it if I'm watching it or like, you know, whatever, but that's not like her thing. Like she was like, yo, I never met a person that wasn't really weird that was into anime until I met you. Like I didn't even know like this whole
I know
side of
that.
black nerds and everything even existed. Like I never knew this was a thing. So for her, she was just like, well, I'm kind of going to support him, but also it does seem kind of cool. Go out there, it was just me and her, blew our minds. So then the following year, we were like, yo, what are we gonna do for our honeymoon? Not honeymoon, I'm sorry, for our anniversary. And she's like, let's go back to Japan. And I was like, all right, say less. So we look up, go fly back out there. The first time we were staying in Shibuya,
Nice.
and the second time we went out, we were staying in Akihabara, which was even a bigger testament to me enjoying it beyond anime, because we were staying in Akihabara, but like the anime stuff wasn't like, it wasn't a priority.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like we could walk down to Electric City, like we were right by the station and everything. Like it wasn't, you know, so it was like, okay, so I'm here because like I want to be here outside of anime. I'm here because I enjoy the culture. I enjoy like the atmosphere. I enjoy how like like I always call it the cheat code to photography, street photography. Japan is the cheat code to street photography. You can go there and take a picture on any street, right? Post it on Instagram and you'll get mad likes. Easy.
Facts.
Just because it's just like, that is how like photogenic the place is.
And it's clean too.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And so I enjoyed that piece of it. The fashion started, like I started dabbling more into fashion. The first time I went, I thought I was prepared. I was like, yo, I'm ready. I'm about to flex on them boys. And I go out there and I was like, nah, son, I was not ready. So the second time I went out there, I was ready. And I was like, your boys, like, I'm fly. Like, you know, I did a lot of shopping, of course, clothes and everything. The food is great. I like the idea of the ease of transportation because I live in Texas.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I always try to explain this to everyone, and they never truly understand. You never truly understand until you're here. So people are like, oh, you live in Texas, you must go to Dallas and Houston all the time. Dallas is like 4 hours away from where I live.
That's crazy.
4 hours away. So, and then Houston is like 3 hours away in a totally different direction. It takes me from my house to get to my job, which is in North Austin. It takes me like anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes to get there. So driving is a part of the culture here. Like there's not a thing that I can just walk to, like within walking distance. Right. Besides the hunting store that's across the street from our apartment complex. Like I can walk there, but everything else is just like, you have to drive. So being in a place where I can wake up, walk down the street and be like, hey, we're going to catch the train and we're going to go to a whole nother part of this place. All right, sounds good. Hop on a train and go. Just the convenience of that is what I really love. But yeah, that I think that's what, to answer your question, it was first, it started off with the anime. It started off with that. Then it kind of evolved into like a cultural language piece. And then it evolved into, dang, I really love this place outside of anime. I really love this place outside of like all the I guess the cliche things that would bring me here. Like I love it outside of all of that. Like now I love it for the fashion. I love it for how polite the people are, even if they don't want to be, but how polite the people are. Yeah. The fact that I can walk down the street at night as a Black man and not worry about the police messing with me. Not worrying about anybody being in my business at all. Like I can just walk down the street and exist, because that's what I did at night. Like, because the jet lag and time difference. So when we got there, the second time, it was me, my wife, my sister-in-law, and my best friend. My sister-in-law and my best friend, they weren't used to that. So they were just like, yo, we're going to sleep. My wife, she can sleep at any given moment. So they would go back to the hotel and I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna catch y'all later. And I would just pick a direction and I would just walk. And I would walk in that direction and just keep walking, taking pictures, looking at stuff. And I would do it at night when we would go back to the hotel. And it just felt so free in a sense. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't have that freedom here to walk around like that. And there are not many spaces, I feel like, that we as Black people can just maneuver like that and not have and not have to like worry about anything. Like here, it's like, okay, even if I'm just going to get like fast food, it's like, all right, I got to bring the piece to go get fast food. You know what I mean? Like just in case, even though it's like a minute and a half drive down the street, but it's like just in case. But there, it's like I can just walk, wake up in the morning, walk, and not worry about it. So that was another thing that kept me like, or having me wanting to go back, is that sense of freedom.
Yeah, to comment on the travel thing in Texas, my mom's been living in Austin for probably about 6 or 7 years, maybe a little more than that at this point. So yeah, like I've been down there more than a few times, and he's not lying, y'all. Like if you don't have a car, if you don't got a car, you're not going nowhere in Texas, like at all. Like I walked from my mom lives in this beautiful house in this walled off neighborhood in like the nicer part of like the Dallas Fort Worth area called Keller, and there's a walk from, like, it took me about like 20 to 30 minutes to walk to Whataburger. Like you know, like that's how crazy it gets down in Texas. Like I just had to say that, like, that's
shout out to Whataburger, yo.
With the heat whooping your ass too.
The best. Yeah, for real.
So not only that, it's the heat's whooping your ass as you walk in.
Damn, it's hot down there. Yeah, for real.
The last time I went down there, I walked to Whataburger and I was banging the 03 Greedo and DJ Mustard album. It had just come out. I was listening to that album. I was walking, for real. Shout out Free Greedo, for real. But that was my first time eating Whataburger. I got like the burgers with the jalapenos and mustard and shit on it. Don't like Whataburger? Don't do that to me.
Whataburger, no, because Texans will tell you, bro, we hype it for out of towners.
I'm gonna say this
in real life, Whataburger does not slap, bro. Unless you get the number 22 sausage, egg, and cheese on the jalapeno cheddar biscuit. You substitute the hash browns for fries, and you get a root beer. So that is the only.
I'm gonna do that. But I gotta do that.
The burgers are not good. The burgers aren't good.
Look, I'm gonna tell you like this though, right? I've been to Texas. I've been to Cali, and motherfuckers out in Cali, they hype up In-N-Out so much, bro. But it's not good. It's not good. So when I went to Texas and I had Whataburger, it was after I went to Cali. I was like, okay, this is actually it's good. It's like, I can understand why people like this. But In-N-Out over there, like, you're not seeing Five Guys out here. You're not seeing Fuddruckers. And honestly, you're not beating Wendy's or Sonic. Like, I don't understand. I'm sorry.
Wow, man.
I'm sorry.
See, I'm from Jersey, and we got
White Castle. My cousin from Jersey, he moved down here. He put me on a White Castle.
See, I like White Castle. I was never big on their burgers, but like one thing that people don't know about Jersey is all about diners. Like North Jersey, it's diners everywhere. Like we're like they call us the Garden State. We're the diner state. Like fuck that shit. Like they're everywhere up here. So like I'm really big on like diner burgers and like we have a local place called Smash Burger that's also pretty tight. But I don't know. Like
I got that here too. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I got them here.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So maybe that's a little more out there than I thought. But before we move on, yeah, I love Whataburger. I don't know. Like I had it a couple of times, and I'm just like, especially compared to In-N-Out, which I also like. I know a lot of people don't like it. I like In-N-Out. I'm a stand on that. It's not perfect. I like In-N-Out. I got a gift card in my fucking wallet right now. But but like yeah, I like Whataburger. I'm cool with it. I like it.
So I'm gonna say this. Y'all in Jersey, right?
Yeah.
So I'm from the DMV. You guys probably got Five Guys out there. Have you ever been to Five Guys?
Oh yeah, of course I have.
So you put that over Five Guys?
I like Five Guys. They're OD expensive for no reason, so I don't go all the time.
Okay, I could agree with that.
But like, I like the thing I like more than anything at Five Guys is their fries. Like the Cajun fries? Cajun fries are crazy, son. Like can't even hold you. They're so good. But honestly, like I'm trying to think of like the best burger I've ever had in my life, and I don't know what it would be right now. Like
I've had some fire burgers at like random hole in the wall gas stations where they cook the burgers in the back. Those are the ones, yo. Like they'll make them on a little skillet grill thing, and they put like the sizzler thing on it, just like with the egg and bacon. Yeah, those are the ones.
There's more love in that shit, bro. Like
that's anywhere you go though. Like you go to that one
the best burgers, yo.
You go to the one hole in the wall, whatever. questionable if they have a restroom or not.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right,
Uh-huh.
why not?
Yeah,
Let's see what
man.
it's like. And you go in there and it's slap every time.
Facts.
Son. All the local places have all the best food. Like there's we got the TikTok diner. I'm like 10 minutes away from there. Like I think it was featured on an episode of Guy Fieri's Diners,
Mm,
Drive-ins and Dives and shit. So like
okay.
they got crazy burgers. Like not like crazy like ingredient wise, they're just like
Uh-huh.
really good quality burgers, and it's like the place that like everyone in like I live in Essex County up here. Shout out to the 973. But like
Okay.
that's like the place. Like if you're in that area, like TikTok is one of the places you go for a good burger.
I'm gonna
And
check
like
it out next time I'm up there. I'm gonna fuck with it.
hell yeah.
Um,
Um
did you want me to dive into like I guess why I went to Japan or why I like Japan and stuff?
yeah. Yeah,
All right,
definitely.
all right, let me do that. So I didn't really get into anime until I was like 19, 20 years old.
Yeah.
But I seen like Dragon Ball Z and shit. But I just seen pictures. I forget how I like saw pictures of Japan and like Tokyo, and it just looked crazy to me. Like I always wanted to just go there and like see the Shibuya crosswalk. So I was in high school. My sister and mom went out to I think like Europe or something because like my mom had friends that were stationed out there. So they got to like stay out there for free. The flights weren't that bad because they got like I think like a military discount or whatever.
Mm.
But they went out there, right? And I was scared. I was terrified of flying. And I was always just like I would never want to fly anywhere. Uh, but then my mom was like, "Nah, you gotta fly somewhere. Yeah, yeah, yeah. For your graduation, I'm gonna take you somewhere. Where you want to go?" And I was like, I guess I could go to Tokyo. I want to go to Japan. And so she was going to take me to Japan when I graduated, but like she passed before I graduated high school, so it just didn't happen. So my dad, like I wasn't as close with him as I am now, but he was like, "I'm still going to take you." So he picked up like, and we just went to Japan, um, right after I graduated high school, and we were there for like 3 days. Just like I think we stayed like on the outskirts of Tokyo in a hotel. Um, and it was just dope. Like my dad's crazy, man. Like we were out at like bars and clubs. He took me to my first strip club out in Japan, and like it was nuts because those places stay open like hella late. They got like 24/7 strip clubs and shit,
Yeah.
and like all the bars stay open hella late, and they like play
Mm-hmm.
everything. Like they'll have one floor that plays like jazz because they like love jazz out there, yo. They love jazz. They love hip hop. They love punk rock, and it was just cool to see how they took in all of our culture and regurgitated it to their own. And like Curve said, everybody was like mad polite. The food there was great. The one thing that we did that was crazy to me was like we didn't really sleep because like my dad, he's an animal. Like he'll go out drink like till 6 o'clock in the morning, wake up at like 8 and ready to do it all over again. So we went to the
Mm,
fish market and they open up at 4 o'clock like in the morning because they're catching the fish, bringing it to the docks, ready to like cut up for sushi and all that.
that's different.
So we were there like 4 o'clock in the morning. We had just like went out and drank whatever, and it just like hit me how crazy this place was because it's like one of the largest fish markets I think in the world. And just to like sit down, see like the chefs chop up the sushi in front of you, serve it to you after they literally just brought it from like the docks that same morning is just a crazy experience. Uh, so that was the first time I went to Japan. I fell in love with it. I didn't really get to see too much of it. I mean, I was there for like 3 days, 4 days, and most of the time we spent traveling because it takes like 14 hours to get there. And we had like a layover flight in Cali and
Ooh.
shit.
Yeah, I'm about to say it's pretty far
Yeah,
from where you are because I know
from me,
it's
bro, it was far.
because from Cali, because we have to fly out of Cali because you go
Yeah,
from here to there, and that's like 10 hours from Cali to there. So
bro. So
yeah,
it
it's
took
far.
we flew to Cali. We had a layover. We were chilling in Cali for a bit, but like we were just in the airport. And then we took the flight and we didn't fly directly into Tokyo. We flew like in a some other place. I forget exactly where, but we had to take the JR line or like the bullet train to get to Tokyo. And it was like a 2 hour train ride to get
Ooh.
into it, which was crazy. Um,
So you was mad far then if it was
yeah,
2 hours
bro.
by train. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
mad far.
God damn.
Yeah. So it was like a whole like 2 days spent traveling just to be there for like 3 days, which was nuts. But I fell in love with this shit, man. And it was just crazy. Um, and then like I went to school, went to Morgan State. All my homies put me on the anime. They're like, "What? You never really dove into this?" So I just like got an appreciation for that from that standpoint. And then like Curb hit me up, not Curb, but Cram hit me up to make music on SoundCloud. And then that kind of just like made it like a stamp. Like I got to do this show. I got to go out
Right.
there. I gotta see more. I gotta spend more time out there. And it kind of helped me because like when I went out there, I wasn't just like, I didn't feel like a tourist because I
Mm.
knew people out
Mm.
there who knew my music, right? So I already had like Cram, I had Laugh Life, I had like other DJs, and I had other rappers and like other people that were like on the scene out there already fucking with me. So I was able to just move around and maneuver and have like all the right tools to do what I wanted to do. Like I stayed at Cram's place, like his apartment for like damn near a whole month. So I wasn't paying
Sheesh.
anything for like a hotel or nothing. And the food out there was mad cheap. We would hit up like 7-Eleven or like Lawson, which is like the
7-Eleven,
7-Eleven.
bro.
We would go out there. They had like
Hey.
crazy good food. Like they got legit good food. Like you could
Yep.
sit there and eat it like it's like diner food. And we would do that every morning.
Wow.
And it's like fresh food too. It's not like
They'll
Tostitos
heat
that have
it.
been out for
They'll
like,
even heat it up for you. Like if you
yeah,
get it, they'll be like, "Yo, you want me to heat this
Wow.
up?" And it's like,
mad nice,
"Yes,
yo.
please."
And the thing that's crazy about it
Incredible.
too is like if you want to get a beer out of there, right? Like I would get beers and shit because I drink sometimes too, a good amount, probably more than I should. But you go to like the Lawson, they don't ask you for your ID. You just literally hit a button that says you're like 18 and you click it. They don't even care. You walk out like a brown
Yep.
paper bag. You just walk around drinking a beer. They don't
Yep.
give a fuck.
Man.
Culture was crazy. So I did that, and like every single night I was out there, I was meeting somebody new, whether they were like a hip hop dancer, like a DJ, or like an artist painting, or they did something, and I was just like interacting with them. And a lot of them just like they were trying to speak English because like that's like almost it's not really their second language. I don't know if it really is, but they would practice speaking English with me,
Mm-hmm.
and it just made it more comfortable to like have them come up to me and want to interact with me versus me like
Mm.
not knowing anybody or anything and being a tourist and just walking around. So I felt immersed into the culture and the people that I surrounded myself with. And then so Cram was working at like a warehouse where he would like ship out records and stuff too when he wasn't DJing. And during the day, I would just hit like the JR line and just like get lost all in like Tokyo or like other cities that are on the outskirts of it. And it was dope, man. Like I did 2 shows in Fukuoka. I did a show in Shibuya, and then I did a show in Osaka. That was the very first show I did when I was out there. And that's like the first show I ever got like paid to do ever, ever,
Man. Overseas.
Which
ever,
Son.
is
bro.
which all in its own is a topic for another podcast
Bruh,
about venues not wanting to pay artists justly. But
Mm.
bruh.
anyway.
Baltimore, they're trying to
Mm.
Baltimore, DC, they're trying to pay you
Mm.
shit. You have to pay to have a show, bro.
Anyway.
But yeah, we'll say that for
Son.
another time. But it
Yeah,
was
you
just
got
crazy.
to do that up here too. Sorry, I had to say that. You got to do that up here too for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
All right. But it was cool because like they paid for the hotel, they paid for our food, they paid for me to perform. And like I was sitting there rapping my album and it was crazy because like these motherfuckers, like half of them didn't speak English, but they knew the words to my songs. And I'm just like, what? This is nuts. Um, and it was just a wild experience. Uh yeah, it was dope, man.
that's crazy. So, wow. Like so
I could
it's
talk
so
about it
like
all day, but I'm not going
yeah,
to.
nah, I bet. Yeah, like but yeah, like y'all have these like y'all have these incredible y'all have these incredible stories that are like you have these incredible stories associated with Japan. And of course, like you've both mentioned several times, you've worked like you've gone out of your way to work with several Japanese rappers and producers across these last couple of years, which is really dope because like there are a lot of people who think they like really love the culture and love Japan and whatever,
Mm.
but like y'all are actually like y'all actually took time to like meet these people and like connect with them and like make music regularly, not just like a one-off type shit. Like this is like
Right,
a
Mm.
thing that you do, so like
right.
I was just so it's like before I move on to my last two questions about the last train, like as Americans who've taken an interest in Japanese culture and kind of immersed yourself in it, like was it like was that something that you really thought about while you were making music to like incorporate Japanese artists into your music, or is that something that just kind of like happened and it was like, oh shit, like I did it? Like
Mm, For me, it kind of just happened. Like I didn't expect it to happen at all. Like I was just so accustomed to making music with like the people that are next to me, like my niggas and shit. I didn't think that it would be outside of that scope for real, for to be honest with you. So I only worked with like 4 or 3 other artists, like me, myself, 100 Man, 100 Hobbs, Aaron, Nora Ruffin, and Baker, and that was like literally it because we all were like from the same area and we all made like similar music. We all liked what we did, so that was it. So when the internet like got a glimpse of like the stuff I was doing, it kind of just was different. There's a lot of other artists in the DMV that are kind of like that too, like Armel, Surrey, you, and like there's a plethora of others too that you could just go down the list. But Yeah,
Shout out to
I
you.
had no idea. I had no idea until like the internet caught a hold of it, and then I had like Cram and other artists reach out to me trying to make music, and then I thought it was like a possibility that I could start collabing with a lot of these artists, and then I met him, and it happened. So yeah.
That's fire. Kurt, what about you?
Um, so I was in that really weird subsector of rap back in like 2000. I would say it was probably from 2009 to about 2000, I want to say 12-ish. I was kind of in that lane of like that nerdcore um rap where you had like the anime references and all of that, kind of like what the kids are doing these days. But like we did that like back in 2009, we were doing that stuff with the anime music videos, and like we were already on that and off that by that time. So um I had kind of taken the nerdcore and kind of transformed it into more of a conceptual idea instead
Mm.
of it being just punchlines with anime names
References.
and references. Yeah, I kind of took that and conceptualized it and was like, okay, cool. I'm going to take this idea and I'm going to whatever. So I was working on a project in 2011 called the Cherry Blossom Effect, Endless Dream Theory. Long title, I know. But anyway, so I was working on the Cherry Blossom Effect. Of course, the name is inspired by Japan, blah, blah, blah. So I'm working on that. And the first song single that I put out for it was called Pink, which is an acronym for Progression, Innovation, Needed Knowledge. So at the time, I was watching Tenchi in Love, the movie, and I was making a beat while watching the movie. So I ended up making this beat really great. I'm well, they talk about sample snitching, but anyway, I sample it's my own sample. Anyway, Winter Sadness. I ended up sampling Winter Sadness and turned it into something really great. And I put it out and I put the project out, and it was my first, what I want to say, critically acclaimed project that actually went everywhere. Like
Nice.
it went everywhere. Like there was like Chinese blogs posting it. There were Japanese blogs posting it. There were French, like everywhere. Like it was going everywhere. And I sat down and I was gonna work on the a re-release that was going to be like call it the Transcend edition, where it was going to be like an extended. I added some tracks to it. I took some things off, whatever. And at that time, I had got in contact because of that project with producer Phil Blanks, who's out there in the UK. He's in London. So I ended up connecting with him during that time. And he was like, yo, bro, I'm gonna send you some beats, whatever, to be on the project. So he sent some beats. I did that. So that was like the first time I ever collabed with like an international like artist ever.
Mm.
And I had known Phil Blanks before that a little bit because we had talked back and forth, and I would send him beats and he would send me beats. We would critique and like do all that kind of stuff. So we built that relationship. We worked, and he was on that project. So then I ended up getting an email one day, which I thought was like a scam, but I ended up getting this email from a producer from Japan, and they used to go by the name Free Design, but now they go by Dilo Think. And it's crazy how this is all going to circle around. But anyway, so Dilo Think hits me up and was like, hey, I like your music. Do you want beats? And I'm like, I don't know about this because it seems a little whatever. So I was like, all right, cool, for sure. So he sends me a couple beats and I was like, yo, these are really good. So I'm like, hey, man, I'll send you some money for them. Like, how would you like me to send the money? Blah, blah, blah. And he was just like, no, like, I just want you to rap on these because I like your music and I think your music's good. And I
Damn.
think it'll be cool to work with an American artist.
Mm.
So I was like, oh, all right, for sure. So I rap on the two beats and everything, put it on the project and everything like that. So of course that spreads a little bit more in Japan, yada, yada, yada. People started buying in Japan, started buying the CDs because CDs were a thing back then. So the people are like buying up the CDs, and I'm doing all these like sales in Tokyo through the CDs and all this and that. So fast forward to when we started working on The Last Train. Dex was doing his thing. He was like, yo, I got these rappers, Laugh Life, and I got Cram, I got all these people. And I was like, that's great. And I was like, however, I don't want to be the guy that's just tagging along. Like I want to carry my weight too, and I want to bring something to the table, and I want to make my own connections outside of your connections, because like I don't want to ride your coattail. Like you're doing your thing, you made those connections, you work for that. Like I'm not just going to come in and take those and whatever. So I was at the crib listening to beats like I usually do, and so I had been following Dilo Think on Instagram, and I it just didn't really click until like we were looking for like venues and we were talking about looking for stuff in Japan. So I was like, well, why don't I look for an artist who's in Japan that can find venues and stuff like that? So I go to Dilo Think's Instagram page and I see a flyer for a show that they have called Table Beats at Jazzy Sports in Kyoto. And I was like, oh, okay, well, what is that? So I ended up like watching, typed it in YouTube and I ended up watching one, which is like their version of Low End Theory in LA. So I'm watching it. And as I'm watching it, I'm kind of doing stuff in the background. And then I hear like like these crazy beats. And I'm like, bro, what is this? So I look at the screen and there's a guy on there, but everything in the chat is in Japanese. And I'm trying my best to translate it on my own. And I'm like, I don't know, it's moving too fast. So I ended up seeing somebody just write Ballhead in the chat. And I was like, this must be the name of the producer, Ballhead. So I'm like, okay. So I hop on Bandcamp like I always do. And I type in Ballhead and see what shows up. Ballhead's Bandcamp shows up. I click on it. I listen to the first beat on his beat tape called Yella, and bought the project based off of that. And then I bought his other one. And I'm sitting there listening to these beats. And at the time, we were kind of hashing out the idea for The Last Train. So I'm talking to my wife and I was like, yo, there's this Japanese producer. He's real good. Like he real good. And I think like, I want to get some beats from him for the project. Like you think I like, so I'm talking about him on Twitter and everything. He sees that I'm talking about him on Twitter and then starts replying to my tweets. And I was like, oh, snap, he's talking to me. So I was like, so what do I do now? So I follow him, then he follows me back. And I was like, all right, cool. Now what's the next step? And it's just really awkward. It's kind of like you're like trying to date somebody and like trying to like talk to him. And it's like, how do I maneuver? That. I don't want to come on too strong. I don't want to. So I'm like, okay, so what do I do now? So do I shoot my shot? I said, I'll give it 2 weeks. So I gave it 2 weeks. And then I just hit him up and was like, hey, man, here's my music. I really like your beats, whatever. I sent him all this stuff. And he hits me back and it's like, oh, yeah, I like your music. Usually I charge this much for beats, but I'll knock that in half for you because I like your music, whatever, like let's work. Sends me a Dropbox of like 100 something beats and was like, yo, check this out. So from there, I'm working with him, and then Dharma like hits me up and it's like, yo, I see you're working with Ballhead, because he's also one of the producers on Table Beats as well. And he's like, hey, I see you working with Ballhead. It'd be cool if we worked on something together. And I was like, all right, let's do an EP. And he was like, all right, say less. Sends me the pack of beats. And like, you could have these for free. And I was like, no, man, I'm gonna pay you, like, whatever. So for me, at first, it was kind of like I fell into it and it kind of just happened with Dilo Think. And then from there, it was something that in my later music that I kind of sought out, kind of trying to, pay it forward and stuff like that.
Right. Nah, that's beautiful, because you always got to do that, like especially when there's that like cultural exchange happening. Like that's just second nature, like we'd want people to do that if like somebody was trying to come through and like be on some bullshit with like rap in the States. So I feel it 100%. So not to keep y'all too much longer, talk to me about where the idea from The Last Train came from, and like how this project really came together, and how you two were like, fuck it, let's go.
Oof. Well, you want to start from like how we were supposed to go out there, or all right? Yeah. So initially, I was talking about. Well, I reached out to Curb because she was like, I guess, were you trying to go out there for? It was like something you and your wife were planning on doing, right?
We had actually just got back.
You got back, okay?
Yeah, I just got back from the second time. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was talking to him about going out there, and I was like, man, I'm about to do a second tour out there. I was like working on music and stuff, because I put out the Zero EP, which is me and Dan's project. It's an EP that came out before The Last Train. We had a good press run on it, and I was supposed to go out there for like release parties and everything to go like tour. And I was talking to Curb about it, like, would you want to come out there and like do shows and everything? So he started making his connections too. and then COVID hit, right? So we weren't going to go out there. It wasn't going to happen. Everything kind of like fell on its face, even after me and Curb had already talked it out with mad people. And we had a larger group of people that were going to go with us, but I guess it kind of didn't work out. It fell through. Um, but then we decided, you know what, let's just try and group everything together and make this project called The Last Train. And we pieced up all the connections that we had made through trying to tour out there and put this project and body of work together. And the concept kind of comes from an experience that I had when I was out in Shibuya doing tours. Um, I was coming back from a show that I had, uh, and out there I was like headlining at like 3 o'clock in the morning, like mad late, because that's like how places out there they stay up to like 6 o'clock in the morning. And I stayed after, just to like chill with people, and I drank and was chilling. And then I ended up missing the last train to get back to Cram's house. So I was chilling in Shibuya, like at the crosswalk where they got like the I forget the dog's name, but I'm sitting like
Achiko.
Achiko. I'm sitting right next to Achiko, like petting him, like reminiscing, like thinking about life and how crazy it is, with like literally a bunch of other kids that are out there just like drinking and having fun, but it's just chill. Like there's no cops. It's not a lot of bullshit going on. It was just like a good time to reflect. Um, and yeah, that's I guess where the concept really came from. Just like making sure you don't miss the last train. You take advantage of opportunities that are put in front of you, and you just go get it. End of the day.
Yeah. So it was funny because he hit me up on Twitter and was like, the first message was just like, "Hey, you want to go on tour in Japan?" And I was just like,
Like,
there was no other context, there was no nothing. It was just, do you want to go on tour in Japan? And I was just like, yes, sure. And we had started talking about it. Actually, it was 2019 when we started talking about it. I remember because I was taking Japanese again during that time. So it was 2019. We were taking it. Well, when we were talking about the tour, and I had just so happened to be taking Japanese again. It just kind of all kind of lined up. So we were doing that, and Dex sent that out, and I was like, all right, sure. So what do we need to do? So originally there was like a tour manager guy who was supposed to be looking for venues and doing all this stuff. And that kind of just didn't happen. So during that time, I was telling Dex, I was like, yo, like I've been doing research on IG, and I've been found, like I had a list of venues, like contact information, location, like all that stuff. I had a list of venues. And I was like, look, like if I was able to do this on my own, like sitting around, like there's no reason why the two of us can't put our heads together and our resources together to do this. I was like, instead of having a middleman, like we can use the connections that we already have in Japan and talk to them and whatever, and then we can do the work on our end and just put it all together. So then we ended up putting, some more people behind it and everything, and we started hashing out ideas. And then Dex had the idea, a genius idea, and he was like, yo, why don't we just do a project with the people that are already over there? So it's not like we're just coming over there performing our music in their country,
right.
and kind of giving them something that they can like relate to and stuff. And I was like, yo, that's a great idea. Let's get it going. So I was like, I make beats. There were other people that were producers as well, and rappers that were part of the people that were originally supposed to go. So I had the idea. I was like, well, if we want to make this a true collaborative project, let's make a Dropbox. And if you have drum loops, if you have sample loops, if you have completed beats, if you have beats that just need bass lines or keys or whatever, throw it in the Dropbox. And that way we all have access to it. So if I go in there and see, okay, Dex threw a sample loop on there, I can contact Dex and be like, hey, did you want drums on this? If so, like, here's this idea. And I can lay out the idea and then put it back in the Dropbox, and then somebody else can add to it or whatever. So that was the original idea that we had. But then it just came down to me being the only person throwing beats up. So I'm just throwing up all these beats in the Dropbox, just throwing them up. And then Dex would like text me like right after I put something up and be like, yo, I got a verse written to this beat. And I'd be like, wait, what? I'm like, I just put the beat up. Like, it's only been like 8 minutes. All right, I'm about to record it and send it to you. And I'm like, how? So he record it, send it back. So that's pretty much how the process went, was like me just throwing up beats. And then I was kind of following Dex's lead, where it was like, okay, if he sends this back to me, I can build on it more. I already have the verse. I can kind of build around it, or I can take things out or whatever. And then if we have other people featuring on it, then, so it became one of those things where it was just like a bunch of back and forth emails between everybody. And then because I was doing the engineering and everything, I was having to get the vocal stems from everybody so I can mix them down to at least make it sound like we recorded it in the same place, which was the most important thing for me, is making sure that it all sounded cohesive. Which is another reason why it took so long for the project, is because I wanted everything to be sound good. That's how it happened. Yeah. And once Dex kind of went over that story about like, you know, being out there and everything, and I was like, yo, like, what if we just called this like The Last Train, and structured it in a way where it was like you missed the last train. And then that's why the first track is called Last Train and the last track is called First Train. It's because it's like, oh, we missed it. Now we got to catch that first train. And it's kind of like you do the whole thing over again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, wow. That's such a story, but because like I remember when you first sent me the project, and yeah, this must have been like last summer when you sent it to me, and I listened and I was like, this is really tight. And like the first thing that came to mind hearing it was that like it's really interesting to hear that there was like that like cohesion was such a big thing for you putting this together, because one of my favorite aspects of this project is that like some of it feels like it almost feels like kind of spontaneous in a way, like even though like you're both on every song in some capacity, it's not always in the same capacity. Like some song like some songs you're both rapping, some songs it's one of you rapping and Curb producing some songs. I don't think there might be, if I remember correctly, there's one song on here that doesn't have either of you rapping on it, but like it just kind of gives
Mhm.
but like it just kind of gives it this like spontaneous energy that I haven't really heard anywhere else in a while. Like there's like definitely the concept and it's there and it's really cool, but I just get this like it just feels like there's just like a sense of movement to it that I can't believe I'm about to say this, that kind of feels like a train. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it
yeah.
just
Yeah.
No,
like
that's yeah.
That's what it's supposed to be. Yeah.
that's
I
that's
spent
that's
the
what I got from it. Like
I spent a lot of time structuring the track list. Like, luckily, I'm really glad that Dex and everybody kind of gave me pretty much just creative freedom. They were just like, yo, mix it and do whatever. So a lot of it was just me sitting down and trying to figure out what would the natural flow of this sound like, and how would these moods kind of translate throughout the thing, like the whole entire project. So I spent a lot of time trying to be like, okay, so we missed the last train. Like, if I miss the last train, what would be my next initial thoughts? And then that's why God is the second track, where Dex is talking about like, yo, like I'm happy, like we just made it here. Like I'm happy, like we're just existing in this space and we're trying to make the most out of it and everything. So it's like I'm listening to the songs, I'm structuring, taking songs out, moving songs around, and like everything like that. So I'm really glad that I was able to have that freedom to like name the tracks, or like to just put them in order, and everybody liked it. So, you know, I guess it was a plus though, for sure.
That
yeah.
was awesome. You did a great job, for real.
Thank you. Thank you.
100%.
Ah, that's incredible. So one of my last two questions for you is like you guys made the project, you got it out, you pressed it to wax, which was like a whole journey that you've both kind of been posting about a bunch, and it's really great to see that because it's out, like it's out everywhere. Like I've been seeing y'all talk about like mailing shit to people all across the states, but you also had a moment, if I remember correctly, where the last train was in a record store in Japan,
Mhm.
and like how does
Yep.
having that full circle moment for like I mean like Dex has already been there, and I'm sure I'm not sure I'm sure Kirby you've also been there too, but like this feels like this feels like a next step in that journey. So like seeing that, how did that feel, knowing what I know now about how extensively you guys' relationship with the country runs?
Yeah, it's kind of just like, we can't be there physically, but having something that we created and put a lot of time and passion to be there for people over there to really just consume and appreciate means so much. And it's not like we went through a label or anything else. Like we did it all off the strength of
Right.
our own pocket, bro. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is our dollars that we worked for. This is our connections that we made. Like I had one of my coworkers help me master it for vinyl. Curb did the mixing and mastering for like the digital release, but we had to find somebody completely different for that side because it's not the same thing. I don't know how many two people like know about it, but you can't take a master that you do digitally and just like throw it to a vinyl company to throw on wax. It's gonna skip, it's gonna jump, it's gonna bounce and everything, and it won't work at all. It's not gonna be good. So I had to have it like broken down and the levels made right so it could be pressed to wax. And my boy Eric, shout out to you, Eric. I'm gonna send it to you when we're done with this. But yeah, he helped me out with it 100%. I sat down with him as he did it, and we got the test presses. I went over to his house to listen to the test press to make sure everything was good. Because initially, when Curb got the test presses back, he
I
had
was
a
sick.
he was sick, bro. Like he sent me videos. It was like skipping and shit. I'm like, damn, I didn't have it yet. So I'm thinking in my head, like, fuck, I gotta curse this nigga Eric out because he fucked up the master and shit. But then I was thinking back,
Damn.
like, hold up. What is he listening to this on? What does the record look like? And then it came out like he just had like it wasn't the best record player
Mm.
and it
Yeah.
was like kind of busted. So when I got the test press, I sat down with it because I got a crazy record collection. Like I've been collecting records for a minute. So I got like 2 record players. I ran it through. It sounded great, and then I took it over to Eric's house too, the guy who mastered it, and it sounded fine for him. And he was just like, maybe Curve just doesn't have a good record player. So we just looked at it like that, and
Yeah, my good record player that I had that I was using like when I was like when I sampled from vinyl and stuff, that joint like it just stopped working on me. So like I ended up getting like a one to kind of just hold me over for the time being. Yeah, and that joint, man, it messed it, bro. I'm telling you, I was so sick, bro. I was like,
I know. I was heated too. I was mad
Damn.
as I was furious. I was like, we spent this much bread for them to fuck this up. Like, nah, bro. No, I'm not going. But luckily it worked out, man. And when I saw the actual production version of it with the cover on it and everything, and Crystal Face's work, I was like, this is crazy. Full circle, it looks like a complete finished body of work that we spent all this time on, and it's finally going to be able to like be in the hands of people that really want it, especially out there too. And I think it got embraced so much out there because, like like Kurt said, we have artists on there, so it wasn't just like us trying to push our agenda to them, right? It was part of
Yeah,
their
exactly.
catalog too, right? And it just came full circle that way to me.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to ask y'all that question about like reaching out to artists to work with and like building these connections early on, because like that's the type of shit you reap when you do it right.
Right,
Like
right.
it feels organic, or it doesn't
It's
feel organic.
genuine.
It is organic. It's
Yeah,
genuine.
yeah.
It's real. Like
Right.
it's not just like opportunist shit. So
Like,
like y'all should be applauded for that for sure. Like for real.
thank you.
thank you.
Like
Yeah, man.
Cram, I talk to Cram like damn near every other day. Like that's like one of my really close friends now, for real. Same with Dan too. Dan had a baby. He was sending me pictures of his baby and stuff, and he was calling me your godfather. So it's just like nuts to have all that
Wow,
like, you know, come to fruition to this
man.
project. So
Yo, that's OD.
yeah,
Um, Well, I don't want to keep y'all much longer because we've been going for what feels like I think almost like I think we've been doing this for over 2 hours. Holy shit!
damn.
Wow, I didn't even.
Yo,
Wow, that's my fault. I'm sorry.
nah, you
No, you're
straight.
Um.
good.
It's
It's
been
a
a
good
blast, man. It's been
conversation.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, thank y'all. So my very very last question. Um. Just because I'm curious and because this is a movie podcast, what's the last movie you watched and did you enjoy it?
Mm.
Ooh. Last movie I watched. Last movie I watched.
Last movie I watched. Damn.
Oh, the last movie. Oh, wait. No, that's not a movie. Dang.
Or like,
Uh,
if that's too much, it could be like the last movie, TV show, any sort of like I don't even know what to call it, like just any sort of
okay.
like thing you've seen.
The last thing that I've seen was the Adventure Time Finn and Jake back together again.
Oh, the
Um,
special?
yeah, that was the
Crazy.
last thing that I can remember that wasn't that I guess it's kind of like a movie, like 40 minutes. Outside of that, I've been watching a lot of House Hunters. But anyway, but that was the last thing that I watched. I really enjoyed it. I think the way they opened it was probably one of the darkest moments in that whole entire series, which is already got its dark moments, but the way they opened it with Finn and everything, like that was probably one of the darkest things that I've seen from the series, and I'm pretty glad they took it in that direction for like the closing chapter.
That's cool cuz
Hmm.
like Cause like I'm not fully caught up on Adventure Time. I've been meaning to finish it, and I just like haven't had the time to like
Mm.
mainline it the way I wanted to, because I wasn't watching it like that when it was like new. But one thing that I've heard about the specials is that they've all kind of taken it in that more kind of like mature and not grounded, but like definitely more mature and like dark direction that like kind of you feel would come from something on HBO. So that's dope. Like that's what I've been hearing from all my people who like actually like are invested in Adventure Time like that. So
Mm,
that's
Mm.
fire. That's fire.
that's dope. I need to
Dex, what
watch
about
it.
you? Yeah.
So the last movie that I watched, it was trash. It was Army of the Dead on Netflix, but I don't even want to
Ah,
talk about it. I don't even want to talk about it. I thought it was
okay.
terrible. It was like the worst zombie killing movie I've ever seen in my life. Like my favorite probably is 28 Days Later.
That's a fire
Yes.
movie.
Bruh.
Man,
That's that's
classic.
that's my favorite zombie movie. So I try to like hold every other zombie movie up to that or Zombieland, because Zombieland is like the comedy version of like a zombie movie. But
Also good.
it didn't hold a flame to either one of those. But the
Ah.
last thing that I actually enjoyed that I watched was Tokyo Revengers. And
Oh, the anime? Yo.
yeah, it's like so the animation is just it's like new animation style. It's not really hand drawn or anything like that. But the story is really interesting to me because you follow this kid who was like a rebellious kid and like a delinquent growing up. And he kind of just like ditched all that to become just like a regular citizen of life. And he hated where he was at. And then it's like the first episode, so there's not really any spoilers or anything. But
Right.
he was supposed to die, and then he eventually like goes back into time to like try to better his life and help out people that are in his or future now that are like going through shit. But yeah, it's just cool to like see that format of an anime where it's two different paths that he had to like go through and like see to just like reflect on and better himself as a person. Um, but yeah, that's what I enjoyed. I'm actually caught up on it right now. I think it's only on episode 8, but it's cool.
Yeah. I saw the first episode of Tokyo Revengers not too long ago. I was just talking to my homegirl about it yesterday actually,
Yeah,
because she's been tapped in, and like I'm really excited to see where that goes, because
yeah,
because the manga is cool from what I've read, is also really really dope. So
yeah. It's good. I like it so far.
uh, hell yeah. But yo, like thank y'all, man. This was
No,
tight.
thank you.
Like
Thank you,
I
man. Thank
appreciate
you.
it so much.
Yeah, this was
oh
dope.
yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. Like I'm just like this was like I heard this and I knew this was something that we had to do. So I appreciate y'all. Like, yeah, like it's been like I think almost like 2.5 hours. So like holy shit, like thank y'all, man. Like wow.
Yeah. No, this is a really good conversation. I'm gonna have to check out that place TikTok in Jersey too when I'm up there again.
Let me know when you fall through. We gotta make that happen.
For sure, for sure.
Thanks for listening. Shout out to y'all for making it this far. And shout out to all the black people listening too, because y'all really impeccable. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell a friend to come through next time. 1.